3 against Tampa Bay, Kansas City, and Green Bay, the Bears and McMahon have been tested. In each case, Chicago prevailed, but only by the slimmest of margins. In Tampa, down by 20, relieving Mike Tomczak, McMahon hit Neil Anderson with 1:28 remaining. The Bears by 1. The following week, McMahon started. At one point, the Chiefs led by 14 until McMahon hit Willie Gault with this pass. And with 4:44 remaining, Gault did the rest as the Bears took a 3-point victory. And last week at Green Bay, down once again, McMahon positioned Kevin Butler for this 52-yard winning field goal as time ran out. 3 victories by a combined total of 6 points. Tonight, it's a much tougher test for the Bears. It's the Broncos and John Elway at home, where they have been virtually unbeatable. Last year, Elway firmly established himself as one of the game's best with that memorable 98-yard touchdown drive to tie the Cleveland Browns and force the overtime where the Broncos won the AFC Championship. And tonight on Monday Night Football, it's John Elway and the Broncos and Jim McMahon and the Chicago Bears. ABC Sports presents Monday Night Football. This is our 18th season, and with those years, so many memories. Gary Ellis, single setback. Dickey handoff right side. There's a foul, and it's back. All right. Tom Jackson guards the ball loose and picked up by Steve Foley. Foley's in the end zone, very first play. Jesse Clark now, number 33 is in there with Gary Ellis, number 31. Jesse Clark to the right side, and the surge is out over the 25-yard line. The ball is loose. Well, again, and this time it's Louis Wright down the sideline. Unbelievable. Here he is, Jim McMahon, state All-American from Brigham Young University, taking over for the Bears. Pressure on the first play, and right. Oh, I love it. Willie Gault, forget it. From Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado, tonight, it's the Chicago Bears and the Denver Broncos. This ABC Sports exclusive is brought to you by Dodge Cars and Trucks. For performance on road and off, it's got to be a Dodge. And by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And by Braun. Braun products are designed to perform better. It's only through superior design that superior performance can be achieved. And by Citizen. No other watch expresses time as beautifully. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Denver, Colorado, and winter is here. A major snowstorm yesterday, and this game will be played in temperatures in the low 20s tonight. This game will also be played with a tragic backdrop. Yesterday's crash of a Continental jetliner here at Denver took the lives of 26. It injured 56 others. Our sympathies are with the families of those who died. Our prayers are for those who were injured, and our admiration is for the hundreds of emergency workers who worked through a long, frigid night to free many of those passengers who were trapped in the wreckage. The Bears plane was one of many that was diverted or canceled into Denver. They arrived about midnight last night, and they brought with them a 7-1 record. They are in pretty good command of that Central Division of the NFC. Minnesota is 5-4. They've been winning, but they do not like the way they have been winning. Meanwhile, the Denver Broncos, they are desperate tonight. It's not a do-or-die situation. They are 4-3-1, but they are in the Western Division of the AFC, and San Diego is 8-1 in that division. So the Broncos are trying to stay alive. They're trying to stay alive and hope for a wild card. That's an unusual situation for the defending American Football Conference champions. To tell you a little bit more about the Chicago Bears, who would like to change things around a little bit tonight, my colleague Al Michaels.
Frank, I think more than anything else, the Chicago Bears are simply a victim of their own success. Their great success. Just because they are not blowing people away, a lot of folks begin to wonder, hey, what's wrong with the Bears? Go back to the first game of the 1985 season. Since that time, Chicago has won 36 of 40 regular season games. No team in the history of the National Football League has played any better over a 40-game span. There's some controversy, of course. Some of the players are still angry because of Ditka's management stance. Walter Payton may not be getting the ball as much as he would like. but the Chicago Bear regulars have not lost a game this season. They are 5-0. The replacement team was 2-1, and Chicago leads the NFC Central by 2.5. So it might be a big game for Chicago, but Dan, it is a crucial game for the Denver Broncos.
You know, I really think it is, Al. I think if they do lose tonight, it's going to take a miracle for the Broncos to make the playoffs, because they'll just be playing 500 football with 6 to go. Dan Reeves told me this morning that the last couple of times that they've lost to the Bears, it's because they've been dominated at the line of scrimmage. That's been a problem with the Broncos. Last week against Buffalo, Buffalo runs the ball for 258 yards against a pretty good defensive team. Offensively, they're playing without their best wide receiver. Steve Watson is out with broken ribs. Their best running back, Gerald Wildheit, has a broken leg. Who's left? Well, his name is John Elway, a very special quarterback. Can he win a football game all by himself? The Broncos are going to open it up tonight and hope he can.
And right now they'll begin with their defensive unit on the field because Chicago has won the toss. Dan Reeves coached with Mike Ditka under Tom Landry at Dallas. The two are great friends, former racquetball opponents. There is Ditka, and each is the most successful coach in terms of percentage in the history of each franchise. So on this cold night, before the typical full house at Mile High Stadium, here we go with Dennis Gentry and Thomas Sanders back to receive, and Rich Carless to kick off for Denver. It's a low kick, bouncing at the 5, taken at the 1 by Thomas Sanders, and Sanders comes out to about the 21-yard line, and they'll begin from there as Bruce Plummer makes the stop. So now Jim McMahon, who has led them from behind in each of the last 3 weeks, coming out. There was a flag on the last play, so McMahon will be backed up even further as Chicago is penalized, and we get the call.
Holding, number 86 going to run back. First down at 10.
Red Cashin is the official, and Cap Boso, the Chicago tight end, is the man guilty. Payton and Anderson start in the backfield. Gould and the rookie Morris, the wideouts, with Moorhead at tight end. And the men up front for Chicago. First and 10 as they begin at their own 10-yard line. And Neil Anderson sets up on a wing to the right. And McMahon sends him in motion and gives the ball to Walter Payton. And Payton takes it out to only the 12. He is stopped there by Carl Mecklenburg, and also Tony Lilly providing support. 3-man front, Gilbert, Cragen, and Jones, with Cragen replacing Andre Townsend. Fletcher, Mecklenburg, Huntley, and Ryan are the linebackers. And the secondary, and remember, Foley and Wright have retired. Haynes and Harden on the corners. Smith, who's been hurt, and Lilly at safeties. Second down, 8 from the 12. And again, that's Anderson lined up in the slot as McMahon gets protection and throws to the tight end, Emery Moorhead. And Moorhead has a first down at the 21-yard line. He is covered and then stopped by Carl Mecklenburg.
Key to that completion and the first down was the protection you mentioned, Al. And that's one of the problems Danny Reeves has been trying to rectify with these Broncos. They have only 12 sacks. And the most sacks by any one regular is 1. Carl Mecklenburg, who usually has a bunch by this time of the year, only has 1. Meanwhile, you contrast that with the Chicago Bears' 45 sacks, so you can see they've not been rushing the passer.
First and 10 at the 21-yard line. Anderson in motion. Fake to Payton. McMahon throwing wide open, and out at the 41-yard line is Willie Gould. Gould juggled it for the moment, but was able to hold on for another first down.
And look at the cushion given Willie Gault by the corner on that side, Mike Harden. Willie with just a straight move down the field. By the time he made his move back to the inside, did you notice how Harden had his shoulders turned and was on his way down? He bit on the fly pattern. Willie Gault off to a good start. Even though the weather was bad in Denver here for the last couple of days, this field has been covered, and it's really in excellent condition.
And the Bears off to a good start with successive first downs. That's Moorhead this time in the slot and in motion. From the 41-yard line, Payton on an end around to Willie Gault, and Gault looking to throw and then packs it in, and Gault gets out to the 49-yard line. He was looking for Ron Morris, looking to throw it to Morris, and he winds up keeping it for a gain of 8.
He did want to throw the ball. Morris got in traffic and got knocked off, and Gall had to pull it down. But you might see an awful lot of Gall tonight as we look at the reverse and the handoff, and you'll see that Gall starts to pull up. Meanwhile, Morris is in the traffic downfield. He gets knocked off, so Gall has to pull it down. But Gall has worked well against Mike Harden in the past, and the Broncos get themselves caught sometimes in man for man, and that's what they like. Now, here's what happened to Morris as he runs into a lot of company down there.
I guess so. Mark Haynes just grabbed him by the jersey and threw him to the ground.
Well, that's the best way to get him down.
Second and 2, and Anderson is stopped at the line of scrimmage, and that's Mecklenburg, number 77.
He's the man they count on this Denver defense. They move him all over the football field. His 12th round draft pick of a few years ago. Not big, 6'3", 230. But they will move him inside, they move him outside. And that's a tough thing for a football player to do. And he's mastered it as well as anyone I know, Dan.
He has, and he's one of the few Broncos defensively that's playing well after coming back from the strike. But I want to go back to Mark Haynes. How the heck did the officials miss that thing? He took Ron Morris, just spun him to the ground, Al.
Probably thought it was a running play. 3rd down and 2 at the 49-yard line with Anderson in motion. Fake to Payton, and then the pass complete and wide open for a first down, and a lot more is Gall. Inside the 20, the 10, and a touchdown.
Harden is going to have continuing nightmares about Willie Gall. He beat him deep in Chicago in '84. They came right out and got a big play earlier, and now they get another play and a missed tackle, and Gall takes it in, all against Mike Harden over in the right corner for the Broncos.
Nothing fancy at all. Take a look at this. Watch Willie make his move to the inside. Mike Harden, his left foot slipped out from underneath him, and then he just lost his footwork altogether, and with no one defensively having the angle, that's Willie Gall's advantage all the way.
Oh, and isn't it wonderful to have that world-class sprinter speed? The way he pulled away from safety man Tony Lilly.
So Gold on that drive, which encompassed 90 yards, catches 2 balls for 71. Low snap, but the spot and the kick by Butler is good. And a nice play by Tomczak to get the ball down. So the Bears take the opening kickoff and drive for a touchdown. Bears scored on their first play of the game. A pass to Neil Anderson against Green Bay for a touchdown. Tonight, after they start with a penalty that drives them back to their own 9, they go 91 yards, and that's only the second time all season long the Broncos have given up a touchdown on a drive that started inside the opponent's 20-yard line. Jim McMahon guiding the Bears to an early lead with 11:45 to play in the period. And Butler now to kick off, taken at the 1-yard line. Vance Johnson back out to the 24-yard line.
Let's take a look at the Willie Gall touchdown. Al mentioned Neil Anderson scoring last week on the first play. Watch his motion and watch how it draws Tony Lilly up onto the line of scrimmage. Lilly normally would get back over here, help out in center field. Watch the motion. Here comes Lilly. Now Harden on the far side is locked one-on-one with Willie Gall. Plays it poorly, but once Gall is by him, it's clear sailing to the end zone. Anderson played a big part in that play.
Now the Broncos start from the shotgun at their own 25-yard line. And Dan talked about the fact they're going to have to go to the air a lot more tonight. And they do long on the first play, and the catch is made, but out of bounds. Vance Johnson has it, but out of bounds. Bestie Jackson and Dave Duerson were both with him.
Super coverage on the part of the Bears. They'll both be there. There is Johnson up front, or Jackson up front. The little bump now, he is still with him, but he's going to get help from number 22, Duerson, who moved to free safety this year, and he plays it like he's been playing it his entire career. He's over there for the help. It would have had to have been an absolutely dead solid, perfect pass before the completion. Both Bears right there.
Crowd groaned when they saw the replay, but really nothing to groan about.
And I really don't know how Elway could have thrown that much better. Into double coverage, remarkable.
2nd and 10, and the inside handoff to Ricky Natil, who comes swinging around. And the rookie out of Florida with a little hurdle move, and he's out of bounds, close to a first down at the 35-yard line. So John Elway leading the Broncos. His numbers on the season last week, he was only 13 out of 30 in windy Buffalo as they went down to a 7-point loss. He's got Winder and Lang in the backfield with him. Johnson and Jackson outside with Kay the tight end. Then the guys up front, Humphreys is a former Bear. He came over in preseason in the trade that sent Chicago its current punter, Brian Wagner. 1st and 10 from the 35-yard line. And again, an inside handoff. This time it's Sammy Winder for a gain of 4. The Broncos have a 2nd down and 6 at their own 39. The Chicago defense now with Hampton gone and Wilson gone with knee injuries. It's revamped. Harris gets the start up front with McMichael, the Fridge, and Dent. And then you've got Rivera taking Otis Wilson's spot with Singletary and Marshall. And then Reggie Phillips is on the bench. He was beaten a couple of times last week and the prior week, so Mike Richardson gets his starting job back at left corner. 2nd and 6 from the 39. Again from the shotgun, and the pass too hard for Johnson. He could only get a hand on it. It's 3rd and 6.
And a good illustration there of what Dan Reeves told us this morning, that he's going to open it up. He's going to go to the shotgun formation on running down. He's going to do it early, and he's trying to spread out the Bear defense. He knows Denver is really lacking in a running game, and he doesn't want to get John into surefire passing situations where that front four of the Bears can just tee off and set him up.
Also gives John a much quicker look back there. This tremendous pressure the Bears can put on you, pulling away from the center, can be a little dangerous. He starts back here. He gets a quicker look.
3rd and 6. All 5 plays from the shotgun. Penalty marker goes down. 2, in fact, from either side of the line. And Elway scrambles and throws and nearly has it picked off. Todd Bell in on the play defensively, but 3 flags are down. 2 at the line of scrimmage and 1 on the far side.
Well, Al Harris, number 90, was across the line of scrimmage at the snap of the ball. But let's see if he was drawn or not. Certainly you see Wilbur Marshall thinks that he was pulled outside.
There are at least 2 penalties. There were 3 flags. 2 went down simultaneously, and then the other.
79, the offense was holding offside. Number 90 of the defense. Penalties offset. We'll replay 3rd down.
Fred Cashin, Stephon Humphreys was the man guilty of holding, and Harris came across the line. So all the flags go back in the respective pockets, and it's 3rd down and 6. Denver at its own 39-yard line. Chicago leading 7-0 with 10:34 to play in the 1st quarter. Nickel defense for the Bears. The 5th defensive back is Reggie Phillips. Big rush, and the pass is behind Ricky Nattiel, and Wilbur Marshall forced Elway to get rid of it in a hurry, and has a word for him as well.
Well, Wilbur comes all by himself. It's really no deceit or treachery by the Chicago Bears. Wilbur Marshall just lines up on the line of, you can see his feet at the top here of your screen, but no Denver Bronco chooses to block him, and John Elway has no chance at all. He doesn't even get the opportunity to set his feet, has to throw falling backwards.
Mike Horan, the left-footed kicker who had 2 blocks last week. This is a wobbly one, but it takes a very good Denver bounce. It's fielded back at the 14 by McKinnon, and he is stopped at about the 13-yard line. And the tackle is made by Bruce Plummer, number 38, his 2nd special teams tackle. 10:19 to go in the 1st as Denver trails 7-0. How well the Bears have drafted. There it is graphically. 12 first-round draft choices still active. 12 of the Bear 45.
And they're not just hanging around either.
No.
Those are all excellent players.
1st down, Bears from their own 14-yard line. And it's Anderson getting a nice block out past the 20, run out of bounds at the 24. And you saw Mark Ford lay down the block to spring him.
He also got a good block from Walter Payton. And Walter Payton does what Anderson can't do. You basically have 2 tailbacks in there, but Payton, number 34, gets the block right here that helps Anderson. There's Bort's block against Mecklenburg. But Payton is a fine blocker while Anderson is running up the numbers on the ground. Payton has been doing a lot of work as a blocking back, like a fullback, and not terribly happy about it. He is a little confused about his role, as a matter of fact, and the numbers that find him averaging 2.6 per carry. Had a lot to say this past week.
Chicago with a 1st down at the 24-yard line. They lead 7-0. And it's Payton behind a couple of blockers, but cutting through from behind is Simon Fletcher, number 73, to stop him from arrears.
And there's a good illustration of just what Frank was talking about, because that time it's Neil Anderson in motion that has to block for Walter Payton, and he doesn't get Simon Fletcher down on the ground. Fletcher ends up making the play.
Bears taking the opening kickoff, and remember it started after a penalty on the run back, so they started at the 10, and it was Gall catching 2 passes, including the touchdown pass from 51 yards away. 2nd and 8, Bears at the 26-yard line. That's Anderson in motion. Payton stays in the block, and McMahon goes deep, and there's bumping and a flag on the pass intended for Dennis McKinnon, and he ran into Mark Haynes.
Well, this is going to be a very interesting call.
And a tough call. McKinnon made it look pretty good, Dan, like the ball wasn't coming to him. Haynes wasn't looking at the ball, and all of a sudden McKinnon made a move to the ball and ran right into Haynes.
Ooh, this is not going over well in Bronco land.
McKinnon had
Defensive pass interference, number 36, first down.
McKinnon had Haynes in man for man. Now, Haynes does not know the ball is coming here at that moment. As McKinnon goes for the ball, he runs right up on Haynes. That's a tough one to call. McKinnon would have had to play through Haynes to have any chance at the football.
I'm sorry, I can't buy that, but Mark Haynes has every bit as much right to catch the football as does Dennis McKinnon. He has position on the football. How do they call interference? I don't buy that at all. That's a bad call.
22-yard penalty. And a first down out at the 47-yard line. And McMahon rolling and throwing to Anderson. And he takes it across the 50 down to the 47-yard line. Mike Harden comes up for the stop. It'll be 2nd down and 4.
That's the dilemma Mike Ditka is in, though. You have to have Anderson in the football game some way. That's his 17th reception. He came in tonight, the leading rusher, the leading receiver. And while it's causing a problem, the two of them in there, I'm talking about Payton and Anderson once again. Anderson is a football player that Mike Ditka feels he just can't keep out of it. He's just too effective. He can score from anywhere on the field, and it's just been very difficult for Walter Payton at 33 years old to sit back and play that secondary role.
Make it 2nd and 6 as they give him progress only to the 48-yard line. His knee went down there. And on a draw play, it's Payton. Has room, and Payton has a first down as he takes it to the 39-yard line. Walter Payton, whose longest run this season, believe it or not, is only 15 yards.
Again, it's the motion. Here's Neil Anderson. Watch him go in motion. Now he draws the attention of the Broncos, and it's going to be Walter Payton on the draw right up the middle. This is really nothing fancy. It's straight one-on-one blocking up front. But Neil Anderson occupies the Bronco defender's attention, and that's wide open up the middle for Walter, who has a relatively easy time of it.
He can still scoot, though. Quick acceleration. Good move by Walter.
Meanwhile, the Bears moving almost at will now against the porous Bronco defense at the 39-yard line. Swings it out to Anderson. He escapes the tackle. And then Anderson takes it down to the 34-yard line. Huntley made the stop after the tackle was missed by Jim Ryan.
And missed badly by Jim Ryan as we take a look at the action up in the pits. What kind of protection does McMahon get? Pretty darn good. An attempt right there by Tom Thayer to stop Mecklenburg, but Ryan just whiffing badly on Anderson. The Bronco defense has had a rough week. Neil Anderson is making it a rough Monday night. Again, they were stung badly by Buffalo last week. Talking about Denver, 258 yards rushing by the Bills.
2nd and 6. Bears lead 7-0, and Matsui is in the game. And McMahon has his first pressure of the night, but still gets it off. And he has Gall, and Gall stays inbounds and goes all the way to the 10-yard line.
Oh, what a great move by Gall. He almost was taken off his feet by Haynes, who came up on the bump and run. Haynes man for man against Gall once again. He hits him right at the line of scrimmage, and Jim McMahon stayed very cool. Just about this point, Gall had gone down. He came back up on his feet, got away from Haynes, and slips him here and adds even more yardage. But a good move by Gall initially, because he was taken out of that play by Haynes, and he still came back and gave McMahon a target.
And guess who threw the block at the line of scrimmage on Ricky Hundley that gave Jim McMahon the time to throw that ball? Walter Payton.
McMahon is a perfect 6 of 6. It's first and goal since the nose of the ball is on the 10-yard line. And McMahon on a short roll to Anderson, and Anderson is stopped by Harden at the 7-yard line. It'll be second and goal. And this has to be very unnerving for the Denver Broncos, who gave up a 90-yard drive to Chicago, and now the Bears are knocking on the door again with 5:55 to play in the first quarter.
And I know that Mike Ditka is happy to see McMahon off to a start like he is. He is a streaky football player, McMahon. Never passed for a 300-yard game, but what he is a winner. And he has completed now 7 of 7, and he gets hotter, and he gets better, he gets more cocky with it, and he becomes absolutely deadly when he starts to streak.
Second and goal from the 6-yard line. McMahon throwing wide open, and a touchdown to Cap Boso, the tight end, who was in training camp with the lowly St. Louis Cardinals, and now he's with the Chicago Bears and on the scoreboard, 13-0.
I want you to take a look at one guy. Right here is Carl Mecklenburg. He'll be unblocked. He takes a move to the inside. McMahon rolls right around to the outside. If you're Carl Mecklenburg, you hate yourself after this play. Unblocked, takes the wrong move to the inside. McMahon outside and has the easy throw into the end zone.
Now Butler with Tom Zach to hold. Tom Zach was able to handle a low snap last time. This time it's a perfect snap and kick. And the Chicago Bears, looking just the way they looked through all of 1985, marched down the field twice and lead 14-0.
Boso is a receiver that Mike Ditka liked when they played the Cards in an exhibition. The Cards let him go, and he's turned into the best receiving tight end on the Bears squad. You saw an example of it there.
It's a bad transition for that man, Cap Boso, who leaves the team with a record of 3-6, and a team that's on its way to Baltimore, Jacksonville, to Memphis, or someplace else to Chicago, where he's on the other side or the other end of a Jim McMahon touchdown pass. And isn't that amazing? McMahon never throwing for 300 yards in a game in his career. 124 tonight. Kickoff, confusion on the kickoff, and it's down in the end zone by Mateel. He and Johnson didn't know who was going to come out with the ball.
More than that being some sort of a criticism against Jim McMahon, I think it's quite a testimony to the awesome ability of Chicago to run the football. He doesn't have to throw for 300 yards.
And for many years, they have been a running football team concentrating on the run, even before Mike Ditka got there. They haven't had a lot of quarterbacks who threw for 300 yards over the many, many years that they've been around.
But it's one of those amazing aberrations, though, because you would think that at some point he had. For instance, Stan Fouts holds the NFL record, 49 300-yard games.
In today's game, most certainly. But he's a winner.
First and 10 from the 20-yard line. First time that Elway takes a snap from under center, and he gives it to Gene Lang. Minimal gain, and Mr. Perry puts the exclamation point on the play.
Fred, what an important series this is for Denver. Not that they get points necessarily, but that they can move the football. The Bears have dominated this defensively and offensively, and this could get totally out of control and very early.
McMahon is 8 for 8. Elway is 0 for 3. Shotgun again, 2nd and 9. Steve Sewell is in the game, and that's Johnson now in motion. Pressure on, and over the middle, Johnson is wide open, 30, and out of bounds at the 39-yard line. Vance Johnson out of the University of Arizona. Singletary that time put the pressure on Elway coming in through the middle.
And Dan Reeves made a good decision to stay in that spread, the shotgun, if you will, because John Elway is getting a lot of pressure, but he at least is starting back there 5 yards. Watch number 50, Mike Singletary.
That's Vance Johnson. Here's Singletary. Watch him come. But Johnson rather comes across here. But look at Singletary come in. John Elway has to get rid of the ball in a hurry. Johnson in motion underneath. Good read by Elway.
And it's a first and 10 now from the 39-yard line. And Lang right through and takes it out to the 44-yard line. Again, the Broncos are minus Gerald Wilhite, one running back. Their key man is Winder. And then you've got Lang, and as you can see, averaging almost 3 yards a carry, and that's just not going to cut it.
And Lang was running over where Dan Hampton is not playing tonight. Al Harris is in there for him, and Otis Wilson is also out over the on injury reserve. Ron Rivera is over in that left side, replacing Wilson.
Second down 4 from the 44-yard line. And Lang gets hit as he makes the catch, but has the first down as he takes it out to the 50-yard line, and he is stopped by number 50, Singletary. First down.
Let's take a look inside. That's William, the refrigerator Perry, working against Larry Lee, the center, but there's the double team, and the Fridge has been drawing a lot of double teams. Stephon Humphrey's in there helping out as well. The Fridge has his weight down, 317 pounds, and even though it doesn't look like it, that's svelte for number 72.
And Ditka says we could see him in the backfield tonight. First and 10, Denver at the 50-yard line. Elway. Throwing and has it intercepted at the 18-yard line by Dave Duerson. The receiver was Johnson, and he was in a sandwich with Duerson playing behind him. Lang and Johnson were both in the area, but Duerson makes the play, and the Bears have the ball back, and a 14-0 lead as well.
Juan Elway should have never thrown. His receiver had not made the break. He had to get rid of the football. This one he should have just thrown away. There's Lang. And Duerson just floating over there. I think he was probably stunned to even see the football.
Well, that replay angle was even deceptive because Duerson was a good 5 yards downfield from Gene Lang. That replay made it look even closer than it was. I'm sure, Frank, you're exactly right. Duerson card was leaving.
Well, he was wide open, though. Duerson.
Now Chicago, having marched twice downfield for scores, takes over at the 18-yard line. The rookie Morris is the man in motion, and it's Payton getting a block from Anderson and exploiting it out to the 23-yard line for a gain of close to 5. Under 3 minutes to play in the period, a period which has belonged to the Bears. They lead 14-0. And Freddie Gilbert comes off limping, and he's replaced by Walt Boyer at left end for Denver.
Oh, that's tough. They have been in trouble over in that left side already defensively for so long. That's where Buffalo ran time and time again last week, and now they have a backup man replacing Freddie Gilbert.
And they work on Gilbert's side. 2nd and 6, misdirection play to Anderson. And he takes it out to the 25-yard line. And it will be 3rd down at about 3, and Boyer is in on the tackle with Hundley.
And as you see so many times when a team has been exploited 1 week, a club will come back the next week knowing full well that Denver, in this particular instance, spent all week trying to shore up the left side of their defense. So what's happening? The Bears have been running to the other side consistently and with success going the opposite way.
That's the thinking. These two coaches know each other so well. Former coaches together under Tom Landry, teammates with the Cowboys. I think you hit it right on the head.
3rd and 3 from the 25-yard line. Fake to Payton. Mecklenburg pressures and forces McMahon to throw incomplete. Anderson, the intended receiver, but Mecklenburg busted the play up.
Oh, great quickness.
And you know what really is a good point there? If you're a back, you can't go low trying to cut the man, because look what happens. Walter goes low, doesn't get Mecklenburg off his feet, and he stays in Jim McMahon's face and forces the bad throw. First thing a back is taught, when you're going to take that guy on a pass play, you got to block him high.
He had penetrated so quickly, I think Payton was stunned to see him that deep in the backfield. He just hurdled Payton.
That's McMahon's first incomplete pass, and Brian Wagner gets off the kick. A line drive that takes a good Chicago bounce. So good, in fact, he gets about an extra 22 yards on the bounce and roll. All the way to the 18. 1:23 to go in the period. Bears ahead, 14-0. Cowboy, now the Broncos head coach Dan Reeves, who took this pitch from Don Meredith in the 1967 NFL Championship game. This was the first play of the 4th quarter, and it was Reeves stopping and throwing and hitting Lance Rensel for a touchdown that gave Dallas a 17-14 lead over Green Bay. But that, of course, the game where Jerry Kramer makes the great block for Bart Starr, who goes in for the touchdown, and the Ice Bowl ends with Green Bay winning the championship over Dallas 21-17. And there he is 20 years later.
I broadcast that game, and I was talking to Jack Buck earlier tonight. I remember they brought me a cup of coffee. I put it on the windowsill. By the time I had a chance to drink it. I had to take a bite out of it. That's how cold it was.
And Kenny Bowman, the center, gets as much credit as Jerry Kramer for the block. It was a double team.
From the 18-yard line, Elway out of the shotgun and going deep over the middle and incomplete. Intended for Steve Sewell. It'll be 2nd and 10. And it would take an offensive lineman like Deerdorf to give credit to somebody else in addition to Kramer.
He finds those linemen, doesn't he?
Frank, you were there. You know it to be true.
Certainly true.
Kenny Bowman had the right shoulder, and it was Jerry Kramer with the left shoulder, and the double team on Jethro Pugh. And
Jerry was a better writer.
Out of the whole thing, that's right. Out of the whole thing, Kenny Bowman, kind of the forgotten man.
Read what I write.
Jethro Pugh is the guy that would like to forget it.
Sort of like the way Dobler was with you when they look at your career, right?
He was like on ice skates down there for that play. He had no chance.
2nd and 10. They fake the give on the end around to Johnson, and Elway, who can scramble, does so, and picks up the first down as he goes out of bounds out near the 29-yard line. And we can also tell you that the report on Freddie Gilbert is a sprained knee, and he is out at least until the second half as he has gone back to the locker room.
I want you to take a look at what this fake is going to do on the end around. Watch every one of the Bears go with the flow. John Elway is just going to have an easy run of it. Watch the Bears get caught up in the middle. They're all buying this fake to Jackson underneath. Now that is what's known as a loss of containment. Mike Singletary, the nearest guy to John Elway.
1:10 to go in the period. 14-0 Chicago. 1st and 10. Bronx from the 29. Elway wide open into Bear territory is Sewell, and he is stopped at the 43-yard line. Steve Sewell tackled by Ron Rivera for a big gain.
Again, all the time in the world. Good block by Dave Studdard against Richard Dent, right on the left side of your screen. Number 95 going down. That gave Elway the time, and he has a cannon like no other player in this league. He spotted his man deep downfield, Sewell, and kept that on a string, gets the completion into Bear territory.
And the Bears again falling back into a zone coverage, a defense that they don't really play all that well, primarily a man-to-man team. They got burned in the zone that time, and they've been burned a couple times already this year trying to play zone coverage.
From the 43-yard line, it's Lang who gets wrestled down by a quartet of Bears. No gain. And 2nd down, and it's Gilbert who has not yet gone to the locker room. We mentioned the report on Gilbert's knee injury, and they tell us he is out at least until the second half, and his face would reflect that fact.
They moved this defensive line around. Danny Reeves has Gilbert. They moved into defensive left end. They put Townsend back in the middle, and they have been switching back and forth because of injuries. Well, that would be a major loss if Gilbert can't come back.
2nd and 11 in the waning seconds of the period. Elway, flag is thrown. He hits the field, breaks the tackle, and he's out of bounds at the 25-yard line. The rookie out of Florida, Mike Richardson, with the coverage on the play, but a marker down at the 39.
I think they're going to get Clarence Kay for turning up towards the line of scrimmage. That ought to be a motion penalty against Denver. Clarence Kay, the tight end, was in motion, and he turned towards the line of scrimmage before the snap. In Canada, that's fine, but not here.
It's almost worth replaying it anyway.
The motion man, number 88, was moving forward at the snap. 5 yards, still 2nd down.
Just to take another look at that arm.
Here's Clarence Kay. Watch him get right to here and make that slight move towards the line of scrimmage at the snap of the football. He misjudges when John Elway is going to call for the snap. It wasn't much, but it drew the flag, and it's a solid call.
Picky.
The crowd didn't like it when they saw it on the replay.
Second down and 16 now after the penalty. They are 49.
That's where the Bears like to bring everyone, including the kitchen. 2nd and long.
4 down linemen. But no backers blitz, and a flag goes down, and another one goes down as well, with Natil, the intended receiver.
Well, you'd think where those were thrown that might be something that works against the Bears, but I don't know. They go against Denver. If it goes against Denver, they're making a bad situation worse.
illegally downfield. Number 68 on the offense. Lined up in the neutral zone. Number 60 on the defense. Offset will replay second down.
Larry Lee illegally downfield. And defensively, he said 60. There is no 60.
He was way downfield.
Yeah.
Richard Perry in that last play, Dan and Al, recalling what Mike Ditka told us this morning, that he's a great pass rusher that draws double team coverage all the time. They didn't double in that time, and he was right in Elway's face.
Second down and 16 with Mark Jackson in motion. 3 receivers go out on the left side. A flag is thrown, and the pass is caught by Johnson, and he's tackled at the 24 as the period ends. Reggie Phillips makes the stop, but early on in the play, a penalty marker thrown at the 46-yard line.
And that's a free play all the way for Denver because Richard Dent was offside on the play.
Number 95 on the defense. That penalty is declined. First down.
That just turned it loose for John Elway. He saw that Dent was offside. He would have tried to squeeze that into anybody. There it is. Now, Elway knows right at this point, Dan, I've got a free shot.
And look at Richard Dent and the Bears. They don't get any pass rush on Elway. He's got all the time in the world, and he makes it count. Boy, it's easy to just say no. We'll decline the penalty.
Period ends on an up note for Denver, but the Bears lead 14-0, and we'll be back in Denver after this message and a word from your local station. Exclusive is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Al Michaels with Frank Gifford. Dan Dierdorf start the second period. 14-0 Chicago. First and 10 at the 23. And it's Lang, and he gets ripped by Singletary.
Oh! If he didn't have a number, you'd know who it was. Mr. Emotion.
Mike Singletary, middle linebacker of the Chicago Bears. Textbook on how to play it. Listen.
Great timing. That'll make you think twice before you cut back again.
Second down and 9 at the 22-yard line. Elway buys time, throws incomplete. Pressure put on that time by Rivera. Funny thing about Singletary, if you don't know him, if you look at him, he wears glasses. He looks like a studious bookworm. A big bookworm, but a bookworm nonetheless.
Very serious today about the problems these Bears have had in the last 3 games. Even though they've been winning, they have not been playing the way they plan on playing themselves. And they had a team meeting earlier to get a lot of things off their chest this week. They met with Mike Ditka, and they talked about some of the things that Mike Ditka talked about during the course of the strike, and they got a lot of things aired out. Mike Singletary said he thought they'd play well tonight. Mike Ditka said he thought they'd play well, and they are playing well.
Third down and 9, and here come the Bears. And there go the penalty flag. And it's Elway throwing, and it's tipped away at the last moment, but then caught for a touchdown by Vance Johnson. Intended for Sewell, off the hand of the defensive back, and the touchdown and the penalty marker at the 21-yard line, and the call is offside, Chicago.
On the defense. Penalty is down. Touchdown.
We'll take him any way we can get him.
Now, we need more to happen on one play. Let's look at this from the end zone. Watch Mike Singletary on the blitz. He times it poorly. Way offside. And what a job by Larry Lee to knock him off.
And look at this flip by Elway. Just snapped that off and had all the velocity on. Ball tipped into the air by Todd Bell and comes right down into the hands for the touchdown.
Yeah, it looked like it hit Bell on the left shoulder as he was coming across.
Carlos's extra point is good. There is Vance Johnson, who has now scored 5 touchdowns this season. Most on the team.
Watch Todd Bell. He'll be coming from the right of the screen. His left hand hits the ball. Vance Johnson stays with it, and Denver's back in it.
National Football League, and he has broken a tie with Craig Morton for that particular team mark. And there is Vance Johnson, the fleet one out of the University of Arizona. It's 14-7. The crowd is alive. And Carlos to kick off. 3 yards in the end zone, and stopping is Dennis Gentry. Thought about it and opts to bring it out to the 20.
Got some Bronco fans back, too. You don't like this stadium, do you, Dan? It's a lot of rocks for you.
Well, you know, I love the environment. I love the atmosphere. These are some of the best football fans in all the National Football League. But no, I don't like the way the press box starts to move when they get on their feet and start stomping.
I saw you out there checking the foundations earlier tonight.
Illegal block during the run back. Number 92, it'll be first down and 10.
Any way you look at it, a very productive first quarter for the Bears. As that penalty was called against Paul Migliazzo.
And that's the kind of penalty you got to scratch your head about, because if you down it in the end zone for the touchback, and it still costs you 10 yards. So they bring it back to the 10. The Bears have already had one 90-yard drive. If you joined us late, they took the opening kickoff in a similar circumstance. After a penalty on the run back, they put it back at the 10. McMahon drove them 90, and Gall took it in from 51 out. Then they went down the field again to make it 14-0. Broncos have halved the lead, and now Chicago starts from its own 10. Peyton in motion. Anderson knights his way out to the 18-yard line. Threading his way through, Tony Lilly and Mark Haynes converge on the tackle, and it will be second down and 2. Neil Anderson, who has become the main running back now in the Chicago set.
A drastic difference in his last couple of games' production. That's only because the teams they've played have really overplayed the run, especially Green Bay last week. But that opened it up for the pass, and Mike Ditka let Jim McMahon call his own plays late in the ball game. He went to the air, and that's why they're 7-1. This team has lots of ways to score.
That single coverage, Galt against Harden once again on the left side.
On second and 2, it's Peyton, and Peyton slips the tackle in the backfield and takes it out for a first down. Walter Payton takes it across the 20-yard line.
Still has the strength, and look at those incredible numbers. And the thing that has impressed me all along, Dan, is the durability of a running back like Walter Payton. They get hit from every angle over and over and over. Think of the miles that he's covered, averaging a little over 4 yards a pop.
Meanwhile, and I think, by the way, that what Mike Ditka is doing, playing him in the backfield along with Neil Anderson, is class, class, class. Walter Payton plays until the day he hangs up his cleat.
From the 21, McMahon going deep for Gold, who's double teamed and incomplete. Covered by Lilly and Haynes, and really covered.
Hey, that was 55 yards in the air. And if you're worried about McMahon's shoulder, he can really release it. Let's take a look at the coverage again. Galt with that great speed. Mark Haynes, been around a while, all pro with the Giants before he arrived here a couple of years ago. Nice little professional move right to the inside, knocked Galt's stride off just a little bit. But Galt still was able to get there as Lilly came over to help out on the coverage.
And remember, Tony Lilly wasn't there to help out on Galt's touchdown because of that motion by Neil Anderson. A big difference when the free safety, Tony Lilly, is able to get over there from center field and help out the corner.
Second and 10 from the 21-yard line. McMahon throwing underneath, and it's caught by the tight end Boso, and he has a first down as he takes it out to the 35-yard line.
Yep, Boso. You know what Mike Ditka liked about him when he saw him in that game, that exhibition game that we covered with the Cardinals? The way he came across and chopped Mike Singletary. Picked him up, made a couple of key blocks, made a good turn block against Dan Hampton at the time. He said, hey, this guy can play football.
And in reality, the Bears were really just desperate for anyone to play tight end to back up Emory Moorhead. Tim Reitman had been hurt. And Ditka said, hey, I had no idea. I was just renting a body. I had no idea he'd be able to play like this. What a surprise.
Kind of a good.
Speaking of hurt, Jim Ryan is on the bench, and Dennison in at linebacker, and McMahon going deep for Gentry, and just does overshoot him. He'd gotten out in front. He'd gotten by Tony Lilly, but the pass falls incomplete.
Well, Gentry's only 5'8". Had he been a man of ordinary stature, as Tim McKay might say, he might have got that.
You know,
again, he threw it about 60 yards.
Yeah, you touched earlier on Jim's throwing of the football. My gosh, I can't believe the way that he's lofting it. I don't know if the thin air has something to do with it, but there's nothing wrong with that shoulder.
And he's going to have to get a little more surgery done on it at the end of the season. He's going to have it shaved, as he puts it, by Dr. Frank Jobe, who wrote the book on rotator cuff surgery at the end of the season.
Second down and 10 at the 35. Fake draw. And then it's Morris, the rookie, makes a nice move to the outside to add about 8 more yards onto it to the 37. Stopped there by Tony Lilly. Ron Morris out of SMU.
Right now, McMahon is just shooting ducks. We'll take a look at Mecklenburg. He never gives up on it, but he's been picked up. Goes right over the top and gets back into the play, but McMahon with plenty of time, and he is just popping things away. Carl Mecklenburg, by the way, is the Denver's Travelers Man of the Year, and the Travelers Man of the Year for the season for the National Football League will be announced at the Super Bowl. So Carl Mecklenburg will represent the Denver Broncos.
Jim McMahon leads the Bears to the line at the 38, 1st and 10. McMahon throwing over the middle, and that's caught by Payton, and Walter takes it down to the 30-yard line. And we mentioned McMahon in his illustrious career without a 300-yard game. He has already thrown for 173 yards, and we have 10:25 to play in the half.
I don't know. I like his breakfast, quite frankly. Crab legs and skull. You can imagine that early in the morning. He has paid to work, isn't he?
And Payton adds yet another mark. And, of course, that one's an ongoing thing with Galbraith still active with the Giants, so they could go back and forth conceivably. Second down and 2 at the 30. And movement on the right side, but no flag. And the quick pass to number 85, McKinnon, for a first down. Almost movement from Cap Boso. He started to move forward, then stopped, and no flag. First down.
That was a change off by McMahon, and you saw movement on the part of Walter Payton too. Had his legs in the wrong position, and when McMahon looked over and saw that he was going to have an uncovered man, he knew he could get it there, and he did. He changed the play, and he probably caught Keith Van Horn on the right side, wouldn't you say, Dan, in a different kind of stance than he wanted to be in.
And keep in mind, Frank, Caposo is a tight end. He can make that kind of a movement as long as no one from the defense was drawn offside, and he got back and got set for at least a second before the snap. If he's one of the interior 5, it's a penalty, but not on the tight end.
From the 14-yard line, McMahon on that short roll, scrambling and lofting it into the corner and incomplete. Dennis McKinnon tried to get there. It's second down and 10.
I think that was a good illustration of Jim McMahon in telling us this morning that his shoulder feels fine, all the arm strength is there. When I get an opportunity to set my feet beneath me, when I get to throw in a classic pattern, when I can really follow through and get my weight down. I think we saw an illustration there of having to fall backwards where the pass really came up short. He said, I just can't muscle it the way I used to. I've got to throw it textbook to get it where I want it to go.
Someone like Danny White with the fractured wrist of a year ago.
Exactly, Frank.
Second and 10, Chicago at the 14. Bears lead 14-7. 9 minutes to go in the half. McMahon throwing to the 3-yard line. Willie Gault making the catch, and he has a first down. It'll be first and goal, Bears. Another long drive for Chicago.
And this is the way a quarterback stays in the pocket. You don't think Jim McMahon has confidence in this offensive line? Look at the way they move the orange shirt pass. He steps up, delivers over the front foot, and inside is Willie Gault. He'd gotten inside Jeremiah Castile. Broke off at the line of scrimmage. Frank, you know that's so difficult for a receiver to do. Get away from that man coverage, but Willie Gault has got it down.
Key thing, they gave McMahon time. He believed in that offensive line, stepped back and had the pocket in time to get rid of it.
Gault is over 100 yards receiving tonight on 4 catches. And McMahon lost it incomplete. The pressure applied that time. And it'll be second down and goal from the 3.
If that play looked unorganized, it's because the Bears were trying to beat the 30-second clock, and Jim McMahon had to call for the snap of the football before his motion man got across the formation and able to block.
In other words, it was unorganized. Totally.
And also, McMichael was in there as a potential receiver, lined up as the tight end, Steve McMichael, and that's something the Bears have done in the past.
And here comes a timeout by Chicago. And did you see who was standing behind Mike Ditka saying, let me in, let me in?
I'm ready.
In about 2.5 yards, he will be.
The refrigerator. He may ride again tonight.
At the 5, Denver has not stopped their opponents once this season.
That is very uncharacteristic for a Denver Bronco team. One of their trademarks has long been goal line defense.
Meanwhile, McMichael is the tight end again on the left side on 2nd down and goal. Calvin Thomas is in there as the fullback. And it's McMahon rolling and keeping and getting down to about the 1. So it'll be 3rd down and goal. Townsend in on the tackle. There's Ditka. Perry is in the neighborhood. And here he comes.
Boom, 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 boom. Will he carry or will he block?
He better report. Did you report in, William?
I ain't thought about it.
There he goes, yeah. That's a no-no. That'd have been a penalty if he wouldn't have gone over and reported.
Yep. How do you miss him?
Crowd comes to his feet.
3rd down. Goal. They've got McMichael and Perry both in this offensive set, the 2 defensive linemen. On 3rd down, they give it to Perry. Perry lost the football at the goal line. Who's got it?
Haynes, and he's going to run it out.
Yep, it's still a live ball, and it's Denver's ball out at about the 30.
You may have just seen the last carry ever by Perry.
Well, it's not going to be all William Perry's fault because he gets hit almost in the process of taking the handoff. There was massive penetration by the Denver Broncos. And I think Mike Harden was one of the guys there along with Ricky Hunley.
We got a red-hot Mike Ditka right now.
Take a look at the handoff. He takes it really close to the line of scrimmage. There goes the ball, and there's a hit low, and there's the one that forced it out, and I think that's Mike Harden, number 31.
It is.
And Haynes, very alert, very quickly scoops it up, and he decides I can get it out of there, and he did. He packs it all the way out to the 23-yard line and almost broke it all the way.
And so now Perry and McMichael doing their best imitation of Gordy Lockbaum of Holy Cross stay in on defense as Denver takes over at its own 23-yard line.
Wasn't Perry's last carry a fumble?
Last year against the Packers. Sammy Winder makes the catch out of the 26-yard line after a short gain. He is stopped by Ron Rivera. And that play, of course, the kind of play that can turn a game around.
Well, it's a good one for the Broncos defensively. What are they now? They're only 9 out of 10 allowing their opponents to score. We may see a good effort now out of William Perry. It's any player who finds himself in this situation trying to win his way back into his coach's good graces.
That's a good block by Bishop.
2nd and 6, Denver at its own 27, 6:40 to go in the half. Bears ahead by a touchdown. Johnson makes the catch, and he's tackled. He was stopped at the 28-yard line. And it was Richard Dent that time who put the pressure on, forcing Elway to get rid of it in a hurry.
Richard Dent could have buried Elway, I think, if he wanted to, Dan. He kind of let up on him a little bit. I don't know whether he's observing the new rule this year or just deciding, well, I'm not going to bury him yet.
Yeah, he did exactly what he had to do there. He was more than one step away from John Elway. To have dropped Elway would have instantly brought the roughing the passer flag.
3rd down and 6 from the shotgun. Mark Jackson in motion. Elway has to step up, tries to step out, gets by Singletary, 1st down.
What a football player. Unbelievable. This guy's something special.
Might be arguable whether it's $12 million worth of football player. But he does something very special here. The Bears came in here knowing they had to contain him. Singleton was eyeing him all the way. And he, I suppose, was the spy man that you refer to all the time, Dan. He was assigned to Elway, and he still couldn't get him until Elway picked up the first down.
Mike Singletary had the angle. He had everything. He saw the play develop. Can I dare say that he was an athlete enough to catch John Elway? That's really the case.
There's a league full of them.
First and 10 from the 34-yard line. Sammy Winder, and he cannot get out of the grasp of number 59, Ron Rivera, out of the University of California, and spelling the injured Otis Wilson.
Mike Ditka had no reservations about putting Rivera in there either. As we watch him again, the former California player who played against John Elway when Elway was at Stanford. Now, look at Keith Bishop coming around, just maybe a little late getting there. Whether he got held up on the pull, I don't know. But in any event, fine play by Rivera.
Yeah, the timing was really off. That time, Winder was too far out in front of his blocker.
Blame it on the back, Dan. What about the lineman?
Well, no, I'm not blaming on the back. I'm saying the timing was wrong. Whoever could have been Bishop being late being there.
Second and 12. Bears go to the nickel with Reggie Phillips, the fifth defensive back. Elway tries to escape, does again, has the first down, kicks the ball to the 49.
Give me a break.
Two Bears have clean shots. Richard Dent had the second one, and I believe it's Wilbur Marshall that has the first one. Watch Wilbur Marshall. There he is right in the center of your screen. He's going to get the rush, get around Stephen Humphries, and even get a hand on Elway. Not enough, guys. Now watch Dent come from behind.
And Dent is fast. He's agile. He's quick. Remember, led the league in sacks. A Super Bowl MVP player. Great quickness, but he did not get Elway.
This kid might make it.
Elway, 3 rushes for 37 yards. He's the leading rusher in the game. At the 49-yard line, it's Sammy Winder, who gets taken down at the 46 by Wilbur Marshall, and we're down to 4 minutes to go in the half.
You know, that does something else to you. This takes it out of you emotionally, but it also gets you winded. You chase him enough times. It's cool here tonight in Denver, but we have, what, 5,000 feet of altitude? You chase down Elway around the first half, you might just be a little more tired in the second half.
Is that why they call this the Mile High City?
Oh, it gets to him. You played here, Dan. He does affect you.
I've never been winded in my life. I never ran that hard.
Second and 7 from the 46. Elway goes for another first down, and a big night continues for Vance Johnson, but a marker is down as Elway got hit by Richard Dent. That time Dent didn't hold up, and the penalty marker was thrown.
That's the other dimension. It could go against. It is going to be holding. Someone's probably trying to hold Richard Dent. Probably Dave stuttered over the left side.
Holding. Number 70 on the offense. Still second down.
And I'll tell you why that happened. It's because Richard Dent, in the stand-up position, took an inside move on that guy, Dave Studdard. Watch the move. Faking the upfield rush. Oh, you can see Studdard's right hand all the way around Dent's waist.
That's the agility we were talking about a moment ago. Dent is a very, very quick on his feet. Moves very quickly to the inside or the outside and gets away from a good tackle.
And it's one of the things the Bears do so well with Richard Dent. They'll stand him up. They'll get him down in a three-point stance. They'll line him up at linebacker. They'll drop him back in pass coverage. Richard Dent may very well be the most versatile defensive lineman in the game today.
What was Mike Ditka saying earlier today? One of the reasons Dent is so effective is they double
clock
team.
should not have started. It should have 3 minutes, 22 seconds. 3:22 on the clock.
They'll reset that. But one of the things that makes Dent so dangerous out there is that they so frequently double team William Perry, and Mike Ditka feels that has been lost on a lot of people, how good Perry is on the inside.
Do you think that they purposely double team Perry, or he's just so wide he runs into two people?
Could be. It's just geography you need rather than tactics.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Clock now in order.
Think about it.
That's a good point.
Well, it's an okay point.
Can I stop thinking about it?
Second and 17 after the penalty. Elway. Throwing back across toward the middle and to the 36 and a first down to Ricky Nattiel.
What a show Elway is putting on. Whether they win or lose, he's worth the price of admission.
And Dan Reeves is furious on the Broncos sideline. He's just storming down there, threw his headset down. As we look at Elway, buy time, buy time. Al Harris doesn't know whether to cross the line or fall back. Not a pretty pass, but it was right there to Ricky Nattiel.
I think Danny Reeves was upset because initially the Broncos had two receivers right together downfield. He did not like that.
First and 10, Denver at the Chicago 36. 2:35 to go in the half. Lang fights his way to the 30-yard line. And it will be second down and about 4. Singletary in on the tackle.
Something you have to do out of the shotgun formation is you have to run it. Watch Elway take the snap, coming underneath to the running back, and it's a good solid gain up the middle. If you're going to line up there in first down, you've got to run it. That time to Gene Lang, and look at the good solid hole. A good 5-6 yard pickup.
Second and 4. Sammy Winder takes us to the 2-minute warning with a first down at the 22-yard line.
The other thing it does when you run that football is you slow down that pass rush. They have to think run when you can move the ball on the ground the way Denver is doing it thus far. The pass rush of the Bears will slow down because they can move the ball.
Frank Gifford and Dan Deerdorf. The Bears got off to a 14-0 lead. Denver scored a touchdown to make it 14-7. Perry fumbled at the goal line. And now the Broncos trying to cash in off that break as they've driven to the Chicago 22. 2 minutes to go in the half. Denver has all of its timeouts remaining. Bears, as you can see, almost 2 full games without a sack. And Elway going for a wide-open Jackson for a touchdown. He beat Mike Richardson.
Did he beat him? They brought Mike Richardson in because they were not getting good man-for-man coverage out of Reggie Phillips. And Mark Jackson just spun him around and drilled him and riveted him and got to the outside wide open.
Well, look at the play-action fake, all going the other direction. But look at the coverage up front. Only the Fridge is able to break loose, and Mike Richardson just got ground into the turf like a corkscrew. He did a complete 360. And Mark Jackson, boy, what a move he put on Michael Richardson.
Carlos ties the game with Kubiak holding. And Mark Jackson, so instrumental in the playoffs last year, scores his first touchdown of 1987, and it's a big one. We're tied with 1:54 to go in the half. Why not? There are the stars, Johnson and Jackson, who have scored the 2 touchdowns. And Denver and Chicago are tied at 14 with 1:54 to go in the half.
And that fumble by Perry was, in effect, a 14-point turnaround.
Now Carlos kicking barefooted on this 25-degree night. Through the hands and into the end zone, but down there by Thomas Sanders. And so Chicago will start at its 20, and another look at the touchdown.
And here's why there was single coverage. Wilbur Marshall will come on the blitz. Watch the block on the wing. Mike Singletary will come on the block. He's on the blitz, rather. He'll be picked up. Out here, it's going to be man coverage. Mark Jackson and Mike Richardson. The blitz forces the single coverage John Elway has all day. Jackson supplied the good move, the line, the blocking. Elway the throw. And what a comeback by Denver, having been down 14-0.
1:50 to play in the half. Jim Ryan is back in the game. He's been out for a series, the linebacker. Chicago has 2 timeouts left in the half. And McMahon gives the ball to the first man through. And that was Dennis Gentry, who carries for the first time tonight. Gentry coming out of the backfield.
And the Bears, surprisingly, going to a hurry-up offense.
Second down and 6. McMahon sets up, throws over the middle, incomplete, intended for Morris.
Well,
1:23 to go in the half.
And now they better get a first down or Denver will get another shot at it.
Halftime report, the Goodyear halftime report coming up. And we'll be taking a look at Buddy Ryan, the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and also we'll have a live interview with Herschel Walker, who had a pretty good day yesterday.
In OT.
60 yards for a touchdown to beat New England.
The winning one.
Third down, 6. Anderson and Gentry are in there along with McMahon out of the shotgun, and Anderson gets stopped at the 24, and now Denver can take a timeout if they so choose, and they do. They will take a timeout to conserve some seconds and get the ball back. And Dan Reeves has watched his team not only come from behind, but come from behind in a game that they have to win.
A little bit surprising, that call. I would have thought Mike Ditka would have gone all out to get that first down. This Denver team is hot. John Elway moves the ball, as we can recall from the AFC Championship game against Cleveland, so well on the 2-minute drill. And he has a couple of timeouts to work with, and he's going to have plenty of time following the punt. And it was to me awfully important for Chicago to get this first down.
I thought that was awful aggressive play calling by the Bears to go to the hurry-up offense on first and second down. I mean, the momentum was all Denver's. Chicago had a 14-0 lead. They find themselves now tied. I would have thought they might have been content to go into the locker room, regroup a bit, let things settle down, and not give Denver another chance.
Best laid plans, and so much for that. Natil back at the 35-yard line to accept the kick. Ryan Wagner came over in the Humphreys deal after he punted terribly in an exhibition game here. Low kick, but very good distance, and it bounces away from Natil and goes out of bounds at the 31-yard line. And the Broncos, with 2 timeouts, take over. Now, Ohio State and Earl Bruce fired as the head coach today, but he'll still be the coach on Saturday, his final game against Michigan. Always a great rivalry, and this time with a little extra added attraction. That comes your way Saturday at noon, followed by the battle for the Rose Bowl. UCLA against USC, the winner to Pasadena to meet Michigan State from the Coliseum Saturday at 3:30 Eastern Time.
That's always a good one. Crosstown, everything on it.
First down, Elway from the gun at the 31. Hit Sewell, he's to the 41. He's very close to a first down. Broncos in a hurry-up offense, but they may have to measure. At the 41-yard line, it is that close.
Oh, and the official picked up the football. Howard, there's no way they could measure. He picked it up and started to run with it.
Yes, they signaled first down belatedly at the 41-yard line now as Elway throwing low, no good. Incomplete. Intended from Natil, and the clock down to 40 seconds.
Realistically, Danny Reeves would like to work that ball somewhere down around at least the 33 or 34-yard line to give their field goal kicker, Rich Carlos, a good shot at taking the Broncos in with the lead at halftime. Who would have thunk it? Bears off to a scintillating start, leading 14-0. Looked like they were going to blow the Broncos out of here, and some great play on the part of Elway kept things pulled together. And we're all tied up.
Second and 10 at the 41-yard line. 4-man rush, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Gene Lang. Third and 10 now. Broncos with 2 timeouts.
Yeah, the scoreboard here in Denver shows 3, but Denver used a timeout after the last Bear running play before the punt. So the scoreboard here in Denver incorrect, showing 3. They only have 2. But they need a first down. They need to convert right here, or the Denver Broncos are going to have to punt it away.
Third and 10 from the 41. Elway escaping, throwing on the run, and the catch is made at the 35 by Ricky Natil.
Unbelievable. John Elway putting on a show.
He threw that ball right over Reggie Phillips with such a touch on it. First, he waited there as long as he could. He had good protection, no one uncovered. Good coverage by the Bears downfield, and now he puts a little threat on the Mike, who chases him out, but he flips it over Phillips right there. Gets the completion right in front of Tony Lilly, and a first down at the 35. They're in field goal range.
The Teal and Johnson really having big nights. Jackson has caught a touchdown pass as well. Elway has him at the 35 with 26 seconds. And he fires, and incomplete, and mistiming there. Richardson almost picks it off on a pass intended for Mark Jackson, who was not even looking at it.
Well, that's Jackson's fault all the way, because the Bears came with the blitz, and the receiver lined up to the outside has to read the blitz and break off his pass route. John Elway is looking for Mark Jackson to make a break. This is nothing more than an instinctive throw. Jackson has no clue at all that there's a blitz going on.
Two different pages, receiver and the quarterback. There's using the blitz. I'm quite sure they'd like to sack John Elway and move him back about 5 yards, and then be out of field goal range. He's hard to reach.
Second and 10.
Sacking this guy is good talk.
Low throw, incomplete. Sewell couldn't hold on to it. He was popped by Reggie Phillips. That's why he couldn't hold on to it.
What a shot Reggie puts on Steve Sewell. Take a look at this from ground level.
Didn't even think about holding on to it.
Sewell had to turn his back. He's trying to pick this ball off the ground. Look how low it is.
Could hardly hold on to his fillings. Ooh, what a shot by Reggie Phillips, who lost his starting job tonight to Mike Richardson, who was victimized a short while ago by Mark Jackson.
Third down and 10. If this is incomplete, then you're looking at a 52-yarder for Carlin. And Elway going for Natil, and touchdown!
Oh. Against Phillips. Elway is putting on a magnificent show tonight.
You cannot throw the football more perfectly than John Elway threw it on that play to Ricky Natil. It can't be done.
Unless it was the time before when he completed one. Watch again. Give that offensive line credit. They gave him a lot of time and just strong arms it. Natil is behind Phillips. Both feet come down, inbounds, the official right on it. Crowd loves it as they see it on the diamond vision. Beautiful execution.
Look at the margin of error John Elway has on this pass. Reggie Phillips is no more than 2 yards inside the sideline. Ricky Natil is only maybe 2 feet from the sideline, and the ball drops in there perfectly.
First touchdown of his pro career. He's caught 3 tonight for 78 yards. The first quarter belonged to McMahon. The second quarter belongs to Elway in this great duel, and Carlos makes it a 7-point lead for the Broncos.
And if I'm Ricky Natil, first thing I do is go to John Elway and ask him to autograph my football.
Say, how did you do it? There will be many more touchdowns for Natil. We saw him in preseason, and we all marvel at his speed. The #1 draft pick out of Florida. He has 4.35 speed, and that's what Elway was counting on. But again, just flat-footed. He just flips the ball about 45 yards in the air. Again, as Dan mentioned, he had to keep Natil in bounds. He had to get it over Phillips. He did everything you could possibly ask for him. But again, credit that offensive line too, Dan. They gave him a lot of time.
Well, that's because the Bears chose to not come on the blitz. Remember the last time the Bears tried to blitz John Elway? We saw a big play. We saw a touchdown. This time they drop back, don't rush. They don't get a pass rush, and this is what happened.
So the Broncos, who were down 14-0, who were a yard away from being down 21-7 when Perry fumbled, now lead by 7.
If I'm William Perry, when I go in at halftime, I get a seat in the back row.
It's hard to hide.
You learn that in the 6th grade, don't you, Frank? Oh, you head for the back row when you're the scapegoat.
And if Mike Dick is a teacher, you don't even go in.
Carlos And the kick fielded at the 2-yard line by Thomas Sanders. And all he wants to do is hold on to the football.
Would you say it has swung a little bit Denver's way?
This man will not deliver an address at halftime of compassion.
Again, the Bears have been pulling off all of those mini miracles, but they've been giving up a lot of points. And again, they're in the 20s, and we're only at the half.
You got to love Mike Ditka. He equivocates so much. Yeah, I'll tell you, this is a fire went through Danny Reeves, a competitor like you've never seen, both as a player and as a coach. He can get hot also.
The Bears now from the 8. And they'll run out the first half as Peyton takes the ball with a 16. So we have come to the half. In a gem of a game at Denver. Mile High Stadium as the teams go to the respective locker rooms. It's 21-14 Broncos, and we'll be back at Mile High Stadium after this message from the NFL and a word from your local station.
And our halftime is being brought to you by the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. No matter how far you go, Goodyear takes you home. Well, a wild football game here in the first half. It was all Chicago, then Denver bounced back, and they now have the lead. Chicago, then Denver bounced back, and they now have the lead. And we're going to take a look now at a former Bear. He's colorful, he's iconoclastic, he's all of those things you might think of when you talk about a man that was a wild man with the Bears, but he is getting everybody's attention. We're talking about Buddy Ryan.
I think football is a lot like a war, except you don't use guns. This is the We didn't win the championship because of the defense solely. We won it because we were a good football team in every aspect. I didn't work under Ditka. I was there before Ditka got there. I worked with the McCaskies and George Hallis.
So it's my real pleasure to introduce all of you to Buddy Ryan.
Some other coaches might have came in and did the house cleaning over a period of 3 years or something. I wanted to get it done as quick as I could and get my own type players in here. The guys I kept were my type players.
Well, the first training camp we had here was really rough. A lot of guys got sent to the hospital. A lot of guys quit. And when you're making $80,000 and $100-something and you quit, something had to be rough. And it was Buddy's scheme of things.
I always had a great rapport with the people I coached, and I think it's because I tell it like it is. I mean, I don't try to blow smoke. So you did a great job or you did a horsemanure job. You try to kick it out of the end zone, your ass be back in Oklahoma. One more that's it. Frying steak for 120 a week. I told our Eagle team that, you know, when they went out, I wanted to go out together and stay together and come in together. Of course, I would like for them to come in the second day of the strike together. But they didn't, and we had nobody across the picket line.
This year during the strike, guys who didn't like Buddy came to respect and care about Buddy Ryan because Buddy wanted his team out on the field. He didn't want any guys that he didn't choose out on the football field.
Buddy Ryan did not disappoint the fans who stayed until the final gun when he paid Tom Landry back for running up the score a couple of weeks ago in the replacement game at Dallas.
Well, I think the can of worms was opened up a couple of weeks ago. We just put a lid on it for another year.
I don't really comment on that. I mean, that's not worthy of comment.
Tom Landry said that the individual who did that has to live with himself.
Oh, I can handle that. I think our strength is our team unity and our willing to do whatever it takes. And we've got to win them 7-6, and that's where we win them. Randall is a big strength, and he became a leader after Jaworski left. And I call him the boss. He runs it. He gets the job done with it. Great, smart kid. You know, he's kind of like Singletary was in Chicago. He runs my defense for me.
I don't know. I've heard him call me some other things other than smart, but...
He's probably the best receiver in pro football. At least I wouldn't trade him for anybody else.
Is that right? That's good to know.
Well, I think we're a couple drafts away from a Super Bowl contender, and that's our goal here, to win a Super Bowl and get a ring with an eagle on it.
But the Super Bowl is still down the road. Yesterday, this late game-tying field goal was missed, and the Eagles lost to the Giants 2017.
Field goal kickers, you got to be able to kick the ball through the uprights. They made, what, 2 53-yard field goals? So we tried 39, don't make it, just to tie, though, not to win. So
everybody has their hard times in sports. Kickers aren't out of the ordinary. This game's making me old fast. It's supposed to be 26, but I'm not sure how old I am.
There were a lot of people who questioned a lot of things that Buddy Ryan did when he came in a year ago to Philadelphia, but Buddy Ryan is still around, and he is thriving. We'll be back with a look at a great day for running backs in a moment.
The National Football League belong to the men who pack the ball and carry it on the ground. Some big days, including the first 200-yard day of the season, and that turned in by Charles White, who now replaces Dickerson in the Rams' backfield. White leading the Rams to a victory over the St. Louis Cardinals as they win it by a score of 27-24. We'll see him next Monday night. Meanwhile, Dickerson, now in Indianapolis, of course, ran for 154 yards as the Colts, proving they are for real, beat Miami 40-21. And it would figure Kurt Warner would have a big day as well as the Seahawks rebound from their loss to the Jets last Monday night. Warner runs for 123 yards as Seattle beats Green Bay by 11. And then there was the case of Freeman McNeil, who was benched last week for Johnny Hector, but back in the lineup yesterday, and he goes for 184 yards, taking the flip here from O'Brien and leading the Jets to a 16-9 win over Kansas City to keep them in a tie for first in the AFC East. And then Herschel Walker picks up his first National Football League record. It's the longest run ever in overtime for a touchdown. 60 yards here to beat New England, outrunning Claiborne as Dallas wins it 23-17. And now live from Irving, Texas, is Herschel Walker of the Dallas Cowboys. And Herschel, you've had 24 hours to reflect, and how do you assess your performance as a starter yesterday at Foxborough?
Well, I think I did okay. You know, we ended up winning the ball game, which was most important. Right now, we're going through a very crucial time, so we got to go out and win ball games.
You're going through a crucial time as a team and also yourself. Now, last week, you stated that you wanted to start and you wanted to be the main man out of the backfield. You've gotten your wish. How serious were you about asking to be traded or possibly retiring?
Well, you know, I think a lot of that was blown way out of proportion. You know, I've made many statements, but, you know, being traded was not a statement that I think anyone can take seriously. Something have to happen very, very bad here in Dallas for me to want to leave.
What about your relationship now and any contact with Tony Dorsett between the two of you over the last 24 hours? How does Tony feel? He knows he's on the bench now.
Well, not really. You know, everyone is trying to say that I'm right now the #1 tailback, I'm this, I'm that. But Tony and I, we're still very close. We're teammates. And I think if Coach Landry came out tomorrow and said that, you know, we're going to start Tony this week and Herschel going to play another position. Right now, we want to win ball games. No matter how we get it done, no matter whether it's Purdy or what, we want to win ball games. That's something we as a team has got to do.
Herschel, I don't know what you're going to do when you retire, but if you want to be an analyst, we're going to let you audition right here. Take a look at your monitor and describe for me this play with Perry carrying the ball in the first half.
Well, you have a guy that I can't consider a fullback, 300 pounds. You know, that's a big fullback, but I think one thing that he did, he got very careless. I think he forgot about that he was carrying the ball. I think he just wanted to run over someone. And you got to remember, when you get down that close, you're playing against people who's paid to stop you. So you better take care of that ball when you're that close.
Turned out to be a very big play. Final question about the Cowboys. Some people think it's a team on the way down. Everybody knows it's a team in transition. How do you assess the state of the Dallas Cowboys with a record of 5-4 right now?
Right now, we feel very good. You know, I think one of the biggest problems is with Dallas being the American team, as people have always called them, everyone is looking for, you know, a controversy. You know, when we beat the Giants a few weeks ago, you know, no reporter showed up in the locker room because there was no controversy going on. But now, you know, after people say that, you know, with John Dutton being, you know, released and with the controversy with Tony and I, every reporter is in the locker room now. So I think everyone is looking for controversy against the Cowboys. But I think we as a team is going to go out and play football. And whether you like us or not, we're here, and we're going to show people that Dallas is still one of the best teams to be reckoned with.
New England certainly believes it. We thank you, Herschel.
Thank you.
Continued success to you. Time here at Mile High.
We're getting. I don't know whether we're just using too many superlatives about John Elway. It's hard. I don't think I've ever seen a half played by a quarterback that we've witnessed thus far this evening by John Elway.
Well, you know, Jim McMahon hasn't exactly been chopped liver either. He's 13 of 19 for, as you saw, 200 yards. I mean, we're on our way to an over 800-yard passing day.
But it has not been as dramatic. When Elway had to do it, rolling out of the pocket, chased out of the pocket. Let's go back and look again. This was the one that put them ahead to Mark Jackson. Again, the key thing was the protection that Elway had. This one is to Ricky Nattell, the rookie from Florida. This is the one that put them out in front, right in front of Phillips. We commented at the time it had to be absolutely perfectly thrown. It was that.
And Elway will be going to work very shortly because Denver receives the second half kick. Kevin Butler, who kicks off about half the time into the end zone, boots this one in that very direction, except this one comes to the 1-yard line. Vance Johnson takes it there, and Johnson brings it all the way back out to the 28-yard line. So Elway and the guys go to work, and Gary Fensick, who is reduced down to playing on special teams and in certain defensive situations, makes the stop. And the Bears, as you can see, had not allowed 21 points in a quarter since that famous Monday night game in Miami 2 years ago.
That they lost, the only loss of their 1985 season. 112 quarters ago. A lot of football.
First down at the 27-yard line. Lang is taken down by Ron Rivera and Richard Dent both at the 30-yard line after a gain of 2.
Got a little pushy-shovey going on out there. Wilbur Marshall, and who's his other combatant? Larry Lee, I believe, the center.
Yep. And it was Humphreys, Marshall's former teammate at Cesar. Take it easy on them.
Hard to imagine what Mike Ditka might have had to say at halftime. I imagine it was rather abrasive. Losing a 14-point lead. Going at halftime down by 7.
Well, why are there 8 maintenance workers in the locker room right now? Second down and 8 from the 30.
Here's a good look at the 46.
This is Sewell, and Sewell is able to get by Marshall and work his way for a first down, but a marker is down back at the 25-yard line. And one of the reasons they were able to perhaps work their way by Marshall is he was held. We'll see.
And a clipping preliminary indication.
Yeah, I think it's going to be on Keith Bishop, number 54. He's the guy that was out there blocking on Wilbur Marshall.
Red Cashin.
Clipping during the run. Number 54 on the offense. Half the distance to the goal. Still first down.
Oh, you hate that, don't you, Dan? Do you ever stick out when that happens?
Well, take a look. Wilbur Marshall's going to get upfield. This is Keith Bishop. He's going to pull, and he's going to clip Wilbur from behind right here. Take a look at it. Wilbur Marshall goes upfield, gets the force, fights off the block of Gene Lang. There's the clip. A good spot by the official. You just can't fall onto the back of someone's legs. Wilbur Marshall, a sensational play on his part, fighting off the block of Lang, fights off the clip, and still in on the play.
Second and 22 now from the shotgun. Early third quarter, Denver leading by 7. Elway rolls left, throws, flag is thrown. There was contact there. And Nattell was hit from behind by Bestie Jackson with the ball in the air.
A right-handed quarterback isn't supposed to be able to run to his left and throw the ball with that much authority, is he? That's not right.
He's not supposed to do a lot of things that he is doing, John Elway, but that is a designed moving pocket for Elway.
Holding. Number 95 on the defense. First down.
Richard Dent holding, but that was a pocket that just moved out in front of John Elway. It gets away from a lot of pass pressure, and Elway can do so many things from that. He'll pull it down. He'll run with the football. He'll hit the underneath man. He'll go up to the top with it.
And what a costly penalty that time on Richard Dent, giving an automatic first down to Denver when they were backed up into a long yardage situation.
Took him from what would have been 3rd and 22 to 1st and 10. At the 20-yard line. Inside handoff, and Singletary takes care of Lang. With relish.
If the Chicago Bears players were a corporation, Mike Singletary would be the president and CEO. He is the Chicago Bears, and that's, I know, maybe grammatically not correct, but it's correct in the title that Mike Singletary gets. He's the main man.
What would Peyton be in that corporation?
He'd be a leverage buyout man.
Chairman Emeritus.
Second and 12. And he lost it. Incomplete. Mark Jackson trying to split the defense. And it'll be 3rd down. Bell and Gale recovering.
I go back to Mike Singletary. One of my favorite terms in describing a ball player who has that kind of a leadership capability would be to call him the bell cow. The cow that leads and everyone else follows. Mike Singletary is that guy that leads and everyone else follows.
I prefer not to call him that to his face.
In that
serious man.
In that corporation, what would Ditka be? Sergeant at arms?
Quite possibly.
3rd down and 12. And as a flag, there was movement, and the pass goes through the hands of Ricky Nattiel. But there was jumping at the line, and it might have been the fridge.
Ricky Nattiel, by the way, is playing with a fractured thumb, and with what he had on that, it would be hard to catch.
It was the fridge who was across the line of scrimmage. John Elway going with a hard snap count. Got number 72.
Offside. Number 72 on the defense. Still 3rd down.
Going back to your corporation for a second, what would McMahon be?
You just don't like it, do you? There's William Perry jumping offside. A good look. All right,
McMahon,
Mr. Michaels, who would you appoint president?
Well, I don't know. Maybe Singletary. But
don't tell me you don't know. Come on.
McMahon would be what? The prodigal son? I don't know.
Chief operating officer? Don't criticize my choice without one of your own. I'm not going to put up with that. Come on.
3rd down and 7 from the 23. And the pass is caught, but short of the first down. Sewell makes the catch at the 27-yard line. I know one thing, the nutritionist would be Perry.
Yes.
Good read by Elway to get the ball out there, but just coming up short of the first down. The blitz was on. They were bringing the 2 linebackers.
Fourth down, 2, with McKinnon standing back at his own 25. Mike Horan, who had 2 blocked in 1 quarter in Buffalo last week. Good check. Fumble at the 24. McKinnon picks it up and gets buried at the 28-yard line by Bruce Plummer and Rick Dennison. 12:07 to go in the 3rd quarter with Denver ahead by 7. Bears flashback, and let's go back to the coach of the Bears when he was a tight end out of the University of Pittsburgh, Mike Ditka. The year was 1963. The quarterback was Billy Wade. And watch this catch and run by Ditka, who reminds you very much of another number 89 who wears a New York Giant uniform, Mark Bavaro. A run similar to the one we saw at San Francisco in a way last year. Ditka, for the extra yardage, he wound up leading his team in receiving and scoring in 63 as the Bears won the title, beating the Giants, as Frank well remembers, 14-10.
The pride of Aliquippa, Pennsylvania.
I remember him well.
28-yard line. Walter Payton is in the slot to the left with Neil Anderson, the sole running back, and Payton in motion. And it's Anderson who cuts it up to the 33-yard line. He picks up close to 5. It'll be 2nd down and 5. Jim McMahon started a perfect 8 for 8, but in the last 4 possessions, he's become human. Still 200 yards total on the night. As we mentioned before, never a 300-yard game for McMahon. His career best, 292. Second and 5. Anderson. And a loose ball, but the play blown dead at the 33-yard line. Jim Ryan takes off with it, but it means nothing.
Super play by Dennis Smith, the strong safety for the Broncos. He got up across the line of scrimmage, just messed up all of the blocking program, and forced Anderson to bring it back inside. Little or no pickup. There he is, Pro Bowler, past couple of years. Missed last week with a very sore knee, but he made a fine play there.
3rd and 5 from the 33-yard line. That's Gentry in the backfield next to McMahon. And McMahon over the middle hits McKinnon for a big gain and a first down to the 44 of Denver. McKinnon, who missed all of last year, he was hurt, and he gets up hobbling here.
A good look at a couple of crossing patterns by the Chicago Bears. Watch Dennis McKinnon right here come down and go across. Work underneath a crossing pattern coming from the other direction. A really well-conceived play that time by Chicago.
And what you're looking for is a little pick just like basketball. And while they didn't get the pick, Dennis McKinnon with the good speed got way out in front of Robbins and gets the first down at the 45 of Denver. Good protection, too, for McMahon.
First and 10 at the Denver 45. Less than 10 minutes to play in the third quarter. McMahon is pressures, throws, and off the fingertips of the tight end, Emory Moorhead.
Mecklenburg was in there again for Denver. It's a big turnaround, even though we've been raving about John Elway. There's been a big turnaround in the performance of this defense.
Carl Mecklenburg, look at him come from the top of the screen. Looks like Neil Anderson was supposed to get the block on Mecklenburg and only got his arms on him. And boy, that's a tough shot for McMahon to take. There's Anderson in motion, but he can't make the block on Carl Mecklenburg. Ooh, right on the shoulder.
Mecklenburg, fortunately, only goes 230.
Yeah,
you want to be fortunate. I mean, you could have had a 270-pounder. McMahon was lucky to get up to that one.
Second and 10 at the 45. Flips it out to Anderson, and he is tackled in bounds at the 38-yard line by Jeremiah Castile.
Another pretty move by Anderson. He turned a 2-yard pickup into about a 7-yard pickup. And again, McMahon, looking downfield, knew exactly where Anderson was going to be. Nothing downfield, flipped it out to Anderson, and look at that. He just doesn't give up the football.
In the National Football League, when you go over 100 carries without coughing up the football, it puts you in very elite company. I think only one running back in the league has a longer string going, Earl Farrell with the Cardinals.
Third down 3. Keith Ortega in the game, bottom of the screen, in the slot to the right. And they give it to Gentry, moving through the middle for a first down to the 26-yard line, and that really crossed the Broncos up. Gentry, a versatile one, oft-times a wide receiver, but also has experience at running back, and he picks up the first.
5'8", 180 pounds. Very quick, good return man. Let's take a look at the interior line block.
Look at the pull and the block by Tom Thayer, the right guard, and that was a good illustration of exactly what the Broncos did in the closing moments of the first half. When you get back in that shotgun or spread formation, you have to show the ability to run the football. It really gives your offensive lineman a tremendous advantage to be able to run block out of the shotgun.
Bears have it at the Bronx 26-yard line. McMahon going deep, wide open, touchdown. Willie Gold again. 2 touchdowns tonight for Willie Gold.
What beautiful play action in the Bear backfield.
Double coverage on it. Harden came up in the low zone, top of your screen there.
Take a look at the fake inside, pulling guard. Jim McMahon is going to roll out. Willie Gault will come up and take an outside release for the touchdown.
Tony Lilly in the middle of your screen does not get back there. There's Harden. Now, Tony Lilly, the deep man, played it too short, up tight. Bad line. Tony Lilly.
And Butler missing the extra point. And Denver still has the lead.
And a Cameron Dipkin.
Kevin Butler, who kicked a 52-yarder to win last week's game, as you know, at Green Bay, missing the extra point.
Oh, and he is hot. But keep in mind, Butler also missed 3 field goals last week against Green Bay. That time, nobody to blame. He just hit that baby fat, and the Bears still trail.
8:10 to play in the third quarter. Butler to kick off after missing the extra point. Denver ahead 21-20. And Butler's kick is taken 2 yards in by Johnson. And Denver will start from the 20. Let's take another look now at the hold by Mike Tomczak.
From the reverse angle, you'll see that Mike Tomczak handled the ball. A little slow in getting it back to the spot. The laces were there for Kevin Butler, but most kickers do not mind those laces, particularly on a conversion. But it was a little mishandled. He had a hard time getting it back to the spot, and you could see it, and it hurts.
Is that a big difference on an extra point?
Laces? Yeah. No, I don't believe so. Wasn't when I kicked them.
First down from the 20-yard line. Johnson in motion. Elway having a big, big night. Firing and intercepted at the 30-yard line by Rivera. And Rivera, who takes Otis Wilson's place, has given Chicago the ball and a first down at the 15-yard line. Rivera, who played against Elway in college, the two of them facing each other in a lot of Cal-Stanford games. And now it's Rivera giving Chicago a big, big break.
And you have to wonder if John Elway even sees Ron Rivera. Great catch by Rivera. This ball is whistled. But there's no way that John Elway doesn't see him, Frank. You have to think he's trying to get the ball over the top of Ron Rivera and just doesn't do it.
There's Rivera working on Vance Johnson. He does a couple of nice things on this play, but he was right in the line of sight of Elway. Elway just had his mind made up and released it, and Rivera gets the big turnover.
And Rivera's first career interception. McKinnon in motion, first and 10 at the 15-yard line. Payton out of the eye. Anderson lays down enough of a block, and Payton takes it to the 5-yard line. Dennis Smith makes the tackle. Anderson got rolled over, but it created the pass for Payton to exploit.
That's all you need. Anderson trying. He didn't do a whole lot of that at the University of Florida. He was a very versatile athlete as a receiver and a rusher, but he makes the effort. Watch 35. He makes the attempt. That's all you care about. And it's very effective against Haynes. Dennis Johnson finally makes a stop at the 5-yard line, but give that run of Walter Payton, give a lot of credit to Neil Anderson.
First and goal at the 5. That much time left in the third. This is Anderson with Payton to block, and Anderson takes it to the 1. And I'll guarantee you one thing, folks. You're not going to see number 72 here. Not here. There's Rivera, who has set it up.
We talked all week about how he used to chase down Elway around out of the backfield when he played for California and Elway was performing for Stanford.
Meanwhile, there's Perry still thinks he's coming in.
Well, the Bears came with their big back this time, but it's going to be number 33, Calvin Thomas, a 240-plus pounder.
The fridge is on a total defrost.
Second and goal at the 1. And the big back, Thomas, doesn't get in. So it's going to be third down, goal inside the 1-yard line.
And he may have a first down. No, there's no chance for a first down here. The officials are calling for a timeout. Oh, look at this!
They plugged him in again.
I can't believe this. Maybe in a block, to block.
What do coaches always say, Dan?
Every coach always comes back to his great one after he makes the fumble. You got to get his confidence back up. You can't let the guy leave the ballpark. Not having the confidence that he can handle the ball. He can't even look at it.
I guarantee you he's in there to block, though. He's got to be in there to block.
There's nearly 600 pounds of backs in there right now.
They've got Thomas, number 33, with him. And they sent Thomas in motion. And McMahon himself takes it in. So Perry is enough of a decoy. Thomas goes in motion, and wouldn't you know it, McMahon goes in for the touchdown while nobody was looking.
I did not think he would handle the ball again. Great fake there, Mr. Perry.
Look at the surge by the Bear offensive line. You're going to see the orange shirts move backwards. Jim McMahon into the end zone easily over the top, and you have to think that him sending Perry out onto the field is an indication, though, by Mike Ditka that he's going to let him remain a part of that goal line offense.
You put it right. You got to come right back to him, Dan. They fumbled the ball. Give it to him again.
Butler. And there was movement by Jim Colbert in the line before the snap.
False start. Number 74 on the offense.
Colbert. You know what's amazing about the Bears? They've got the greatest rusher in the history of the National Football League. A great up-and-coming back in Anderson. And there's McMahon with Ditka. They've got the big back in Thomas at 245. And then there's Perry. And it's McMahon who takes it in for the score.
And an all-star offensive line up front. I mean, they've got the tools. Hey, I'm not so quick to bury the fridge here. He may return to Gallup again.
And another bad snap that time, but it's contact with shovels to Butler, and he can't get in. Lilly runs him out of bounds. Addix is the regular snapper. Well, Tom Thayer is snapping tonight.
Well, that ought to be a penalty on Tony Lilly. You can't throw a guy to the ground that far out of bounds. No wonder Kevin Butler got up a little mad.
And particularly a kicker. They'll walk away sucking their thumb. 2 consecutive missed conversions. Don't see that often.
I don't want to come down too hard on Tony Lilly. First of all, we see the bad snap. Tom Thayer, the center, but watch how far out of bounds Kevin Butler is when he gets thrown to the ground. I'm sorry, folks. That's a penalty right there. That's 15.
He's in Wyoming.
Just one of many changes on that defensive unit for Denver from last year, the Super Bowl team. He took over from Steve Foley. Louis Wright retired. Tom Jackson, an emotion leader linebacker, is also retired. So it's a very different defensive team, personnel-wise.
Kevin Butler. Spinning kick and a short one, and fielded on the run up to the 11-yard line by Johnson. And Vance runs out of bounds at the 31. And now the Broncos in arrears once again. At one point they trailed 14-0. They were on the verge of going down 21-7 when Perry fumbled, and then they were able to tie it and go ahead. And now they trailed again by 5.
Here comes Madrick, the magician.
I'm still marveling at John Elway's first half. That's as good a half of football as I've seen a quarterback play in years.
1st and 10 from the 31-yard line. Sewell. And Sewell has the first down at the 42-yard line. Todd Bell runs him out of bounds. Gain of 11.
Denver, when they lost Steve Watson, has really had to rely on receivers like Sewell and Vance Johnson, Mark Jackson. They're all good runners once they get the football. As a matter of fact, Vance Johnson was an all-Pacific Coast tailback, Pac-10 tailback when he played at Arizona. But once they come down with the football, they become dangerous runners.
Bobby Mitchell in the game, that key in the slot to the right. Elway on it out to Jackson, and he's wrapped up and sent down by Bestie Jackson. No relation.
And I think after Elway's interception, these are pretty solid pass patterns for John to be throwing to get back into this football game. I know he had to be a little bit rattled by throwing the ball right to Ron Rivera, but look at the high percentage possession-type passes he's thrown the last couple times out.
And, of course, coming right from Dan Reeves, and you're exactly right. I'm sure he wants to settle him down. He doesn't rattle, though, like he used to. He'll be there.
5 minutes to go, third quarter. Bears by 5. 2nd and 4 from the 49. And Winder takes the ball to about the 47-yard line, and that should be a first down. Stopped by Richard Dent.
Good example of how Elway has taken over this football team. He called the play, got the play from Danny Reeves. He saw his flanker to the left side was not wide enough for the play that he wanted to run. Moved him out, kept his eye on the 30-second clock, did all of that, and he's either going to be close to the first down or he'll have it.
First and 10 at the 47-yard line as Reeves sends in the next play with Steve Sewell. Again, the Broncos with a victory would still be 2.5 games out with 6 to play in the AFC West, and they'd still be third behind Seattle as well. But they'd be very much alive in a wild card bid. A loss would be near disastrous for him. Elway throws it out of bounds. Steve McMichael that time forcing the issue.
And look how Denver trying to keep the Bears defensively off balance, that time going into the shotgun again on first down. I think Dan Reeves is really doing a good job, but unfortunately the Bears that time called it pretty well. They had the blitz on and John Elway back in the shotgun with one of his receivers going out. Gets too much pressure up the middle. And that time Stephon Humphreys, the right guard, is beat by Steve McMichael, who made the good inside move.
2nd and 10 at the 47. 4:16 to go in the third. And the handoff goes to Johnson, and he's going to throw back for nobody.
He wanted to come back to Elway, and Richard Dent made sure Elway did not get out of the backfield. And Elway's complaining he was held.
And the guy you give credit to there for the Bears defensively is Wilber Marshall. Here's Wilber right here. Watch him pick his seam, come through here on the blitz, and force the errant throw. Nobody picks up Wilber Marshall. There goes Johnson in motion, but look at the bottom of your screen.
Dent with Elway. Elway didn't have time to throw that no matter.
Elway was trying to spin away from Dent. Jim Kelly caught one last week against Buffalo, or for Buffalo against Denver. Penalty flag, 2 of them incomplete.
I think the Bears were offside that time, Al.
Red Cash and the line, they'll get both officials together. The call may have been the same from both, and it was.
I think we had a
onside, number 76 on the defense, still third down.
I don't know that Steve McMichael was alone in being offside. He was just a leader. There goes Wilber. There goes the Fridge. Leaders are lonely. Yeah. Wilber got back, but the Fridge did. 72 and 76 offside. Partners in crime.
Good tag team. 3rd and 5. Elway from the shotgun. 4 wide receivers. 2 on each side. Hay in motion. And Elway throwing deep and throwing nowhere. Stopping that time was Jackson. He ran down the sideline and stopped. Gale was covering on the play, and then he took off again.
Wilber Marshall, nobody on him whatsoever. The Bears coming with their blitz, and Elway knew he just had to unload it. He was going to dump it as far downfield as he possibly could. You'll see Marshall, top of your screen, no one to pick him up. And that's not really Denver's fault, because you see Singletary coming to the inside. There just aren't enough bodies in orange shirts to pick up all the Bears. When you send 8 people, somebody's going to be free. Bears count on it.
Elway got together with Jackson, too. Remember, Jackson misread the blitz before. This time Elway said, hey, man, you should have been deep. Haran kicks into the end zone, and so the Bears will take it back to the 20-yard line. 3:47 to go in the third. First period belonged to Chicago, second to Denver, and the third to the Bears. They lead by 5. Is that Frank Gifford?
No.
Is that Dan
No,
Theodore?
that's John. Oh, we got it spotted now.
Oh, yeah.
There he is. Yep. Other way, John. Stanford.
There he is live.
Here he is, live.
John Elway.
Guy makes it happen, doesn't he? One way or another.
He's going to have to make it happen because they're down by 5, and the Bears have the ball at their own 20. 3:47 to go in the third. 26-21 Bears.
If he doesn't make it happen, it's going to be interesting.
Anderson looking for that first down and has it. He gets run out of bounds by Harden and Lilly. Keith Van Horn threw the block that time to Stringham. First down.
And if I was on the Denver defensive team, I would get used to this, because I think the Bears, so many times before in this situation, having a lead, revert right to the running game. 4 years in a row they've led the NFL in rushing, and no better way to preserve the lead than run for first down, keep the other team's offense on the bench. And if you're the Bears, more often than not, it ends up scoring some points for you. And going against the team Buffalo killed on the ground last week.
First and 10 at the 31-yard line. Play fake. And McMahon throws a sideline route, caught by McKinnon at the 40-yard line. Just short of the first down, short by about 2.
Sometimes I wonder how I got this job. Whatever long the support you're getting from me. Boy, can I call. You were right in theory. Let's look at it that way. I'm sure Mike Ditka would like to keep it on the ground. That probably was an audible.
Second and 2 at the 39. Fake to Payton. McMahon steps up, throws. McKinnon slides down and makes the catch on his back. He slipped down and still caught it at the 40-yard line.
A brilliant catch. McMahon really wanted 6 to Willie Galt, who was covered this time by Mike Harden, man for man, and he had to change it off. He almost got sacked. Now watch McMahon. Had stepped back up at this point, but he had looked deep for Galt, had to check it off, and a beautiful catch. Total concentration by McKinnon. Keep in mind, he's the man back there on punts. He has superb hands. And a good look at Mark Haynes coming in late on McKinnon. He was giving Dennis Alside all sorts of room on that play, and he took advantage of it for a Bear first down.
McMahon now 284 yards. First and 10 at the 40-yard line. And he gives the ball to Anderson, and Anderson is able to slice his way down to the 38-yard line. Gain of a couple, it'll be second down and 8. And we have 2.5 minutes to play in the third quarter, with Chicago leading by 5.
If it wasn't for the 2 blocks extra points, it would be a 7-point lead for Chicago. And right now, if you're Denver and Dan Reeves, you're pleading with your defensive team to not allow the Bears to score on this possession. The Bears get it into the end zone for a touchdown. Now you're really putting a great deal of pressure, maybe too much, on John Elway's shoulders.
Second and 7. That short roll, the pass to Anderson, that's the first down. At the 27-yard line, Jeremiah Castile with the tackle.
Not so much about Elway, but also say so much about McMahon. Tonight he's thrown the ball well, and he's had such discipline. A couple of times he wanted to go deep, looking for the 6, saw that he would be a little close, checked it off, and threw for the first down.
Isn't this something? We talked about McMahon, and of course, when you've got Peyton there, as he's had for so many years, you're not going to have that many 300-yard games, but it is pretty incredible. He's never had one, and here he is 5 yards away in the third quarter.
It's only the second time he started on Monday Night Football in 6 games since he came into the league.
From the 26, McMahon going for Morris and incomplete. He was trying to go up and over 300 with a big flourish. He was covered on the play by Mike Harden. Second down. And again, just to reiterate with McMahon, 300 yards. No Chicago QB since Vince Evans in '83. Dan Faust, we mentioned before, the NFL record 49. Dan Marino, who has not been in the league 5 years, has 23 300-yard games.
And how many times has San Diego led the league in rushing? Who has the Super Bowl ring?
Yeah. Second down and 10, the bottom line. Second and 10 at the 26. Peyton tries to get loose, escapes Mecklenburg, and then gets run out of bounds by Townsend, and a marker is down.
And a late flag coming in there.
Side judge is Howard Slavin.
That hurts. That could well take him out of field goal range.
Flip against the Bears is going to back them up. I didn't see it. I want to see who this is on.
Illegal crackback. Number 86 of the offense, 15 yards, still second down.
Cap Boso, tight end.
Cap Bozo is the tight end lined up here at the top. Watch him come down to the inside and block on one of the Bronco linebackers. The key here is you must block above the waist. I think we're going to see Boso go down and cut the legs out from underneath. That's number 55, Rick Dennison, the Bronco linebacker. When you crack back, you must block above the waist. You can't chop a man. He's trying to tell Mike Ditka, Caposo is, that it was on me. It looks like a concussion.
It was close.
Now what are they saying? Now they're moving the ball back.
He was arguing, he was pleading his case with the official. Ditka was talking with the two officials, and then Boso from long distance is now involved face-to-face with the field judge, Don Hakes.
Well, now wait a minute. Maybe because he's lined up at the tight end position, he's allowed to block that low. Maybe they're not calling it a crackback now because he was lined up at tight end.
Well, the officials have just huddled, but they break that conference up.
I'll guarantee you that's what it is. Because he was lined up at tight end, it's not really a crackback unless he was split out wide.
Nor was it a crackback in any event. We saw it on the replay.
It's third down and 8 at the 25-yard line. Shotgun. And McMahon going deep and incomplete, intended for Anderson, and he was in a sandwich. He didn't have a chance.
That is the ruling, Dan. You're exactly right. He was lined up at tight end, and you do not call it a crackback. If you're at the tight end position, you can do that. And they argued their case, and one of the rare times they came up the winner.
So now Tomczak will spot the ball down at the 32. 42-yard attempt for Kevin Butler. And Jay Hilgenberg will do the snapping. Thayer had the bad snap before. Good snap, good hold, and a good kick. And so they missed 2 extra points, but get a very big field goal. Very big because it makes it an 8-point lead.
I'm sure they would much prefer somebody else to snap it than Hilgenberg, who is very good, but he wears a strap on his shoulder. He has a chronic shoulder injury, and it makes it very difficult for him to snap that ball back, but he got it back there in good shape on that occasion.
I think we got a good look there of Kevin Butler tapping Mike Tomczak on the helmet. Kevin has had his problems, admittedly, with concentration. He says, sometimes I just drift away, and he gets now into a little ritual with Mike Tomczak, his holder, where he taps him on the helmet, and he says that kind of locks me in. From that point on, it's all business.
Well, the Packers last week thought they would mess with his concentration when they called timeout before that 52-yarder, and all it did was enable Butler to build himself a little mound at the 42-yard line and boot it through.
Which is hardly permissible, but nevertheless, kickers do drift away. You'll get a lot of coaches tell you that most kickers drift away on occasion. They can go along and be so accurate. They can punt the ball so well.
Here's a look at it right here. Now watch before the field goal. There's the tap on Mike Tomczak's helmet, and from now on, he's got tunnel vision. Nothing but to the hold and to the goalpost. The eyes never come off him.
Like swinging golf club, it really is. It's total concentration.
Yeah. Thanks for finding that, guys. Good work.
Kevin Butler booting this one to the 4-yard line. And this is Tim Bell with his first run back of the night. And he's hit hard out at about the 20-yard line by Munson. Now, next Monday, the L.A. Rams, and we'll see Charles White, who had that huge day against St. Louis. Rams winning on Lansford's kick at the gun. Against the Redskins, the Washington Redskins, a team in first place, but a team with a controversy, with Doug Williams taking over for Jay Schrader.
And taking over quite effectively, and Jay Schrader has been really ineffective all season long, less than 50% for the Redskins, who are winning in spite of it.
Rams Skins next Monday night from D.C. Here it's Lang on 1st and 10, taking it out to the 29-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and 3 with 1 minute and 10 seconds to play in the 3rd period.
Goes right back to what Dan was talking about earlier, and what you have to do when you go from that spread or the shotgun formation. When you go consistently from it, you have to be able to run from it, and you have to show at least some kind of running game to keep that wild pass-rushing defense at least down to a minimum.
What a difference a half makes there, huh? Broncos, 33 yards so far here in the 3rd quarter.
2nd and 4, Elway throwing, and open, and Sewell makes the catch. Steve Sewell at the 49 of Chicago. First down.
It was a great catch, but again, Elway got it in between 2 defenders. You wonder sometimes how he can do this. He looks left, swings back, right over Wilbur Marshall, and right in front of the defensive back.
And you know how long that takes to throw that pattern? I mean, we got a good look at John Elway looking off the defense, looking to the left, looked away the 3 safety, but Sewell was lined up at the halfback position. Takes a long time for a back out of the backfield to work that deeper pattern. Good job up front.
1st and 10 at the Chicago 49. Bears lead by 8. Sammy Winder. He's taken down out of bounds at the 47-yard line. Dave Duerson gets credit for the tackle, and 31 seconds remain in the period.
One would have to think, too, the activities of the night. Denver has been using a lot of sweeps. They have been forcing the defensive linebackers to chase Elway all over the football field, and that begins to tell on you at about this point. Late in the 3rd quarter, into the 4th quarter, and particularly dealing in this kind of altitude.
2nd down, 8 at the 47. Sewell in motion. And the pass is knocked down. It was intended for Sewell and knocked down by Al Harris. And he is spelling Dan Hampton in the defensive line.
Harris 6'5" over that left side. Anticipated it perfectly.
It's a real luxury for the Bears to have a number 1 draft choice and Dan Hampton go down and be able to replace him with another number 1. There's Al at the top of the screen working against Kenny Lanier, and he times it well, doing his Too Tall Jones imitation, going up and batting that one away.
Last time he started was as a linebacker back in 1984, held out in 1985, lost his job, and was just used sparingly last year.
3rd and 8 and 5 receivers in this set. And the Bears jump, and this should be a free play for Elway if he can get rid of it. And he does, and he goes very deep, and it's caught at the 25 by Clarence Kay.
Well, that's just... This guy is in another world. You know, he would have ordinarily, I think, run out of bounds had he not been aware that the Bears, in all probability, were offside. He knew he had the free play. Richard Dent was clearly across the line. But had he not known that he had the free play because of the offsides, he probably would have taken it out of bounds. As it was, he took it back inside, lift downfield, finally found somebody, gets the completion. He is on top of this game. And what an athlete.
Talk about the ability to stay alive and keep your team in contention. Watch the 180 by John Elway. He gets a couple good blocks. Here comes another one by Dave Studdard. But folks, that ball has a little mustard on it.
It just spirals prettier than other passes.
That baby covered some ground in a hurry, and now the clock ends at the end of the third quarter.
We've played 3. Bears ahead by 8. Back after this word about an upcoming show on ABC and a word from your local station. Bears on top by 8, fourth quarter. Seesaw game. It was all Chicago early. Big second quarter for Denver. Bears dominate period 3. Here we go to 4. First and 10 Denver at the Chicago 25-yard line. And Elway going for 6, and it's knocked away. Vance Johnson wants interference, and Vesty Jackson with a coverage. No flag.
I think that was pretty good coverage that time by Vesty Jackson. Good look here at Vance Johnson. You make the call. Jackson looks back at the ball. Tough to tell if that left arm is on him. You can hear the crowd. They just saw the replay. I think they've made the call.
That might be one of the great plays a defensive back ever made. I don't think he made contact, but he got his arm in there and knocked the ball out. Right in between the arms of Johnson.
I didn't see Johnson's body move back like he was shoved.
Second and 10. He slings his sidearm for a first down to the 11-yard line to Vance Johnson. He'll do it anyway. Over the top, underhand, sidearm, throw a slider at you.
Key thing, the pass pressure is not coming in on Elway. He is getting more and more time to throw the ball. And Singletary, with a little hesitation, got there a little late, flips it out with the sidearm. He's done about everything you could possibly ask a quarterback to do tonight.
I'm just completely impressed by John Elway's pocket awareness, his ability to feel pressure, sometimes run with the ball, but sometimes subtly just move a yard or two out of the rush.
296 yards for Elway tonight and 295 for McMahon. So a great little pitcher's duel going on there. And a timeout taken by Elway here. 14:02 remaining in the fourth, with Chicago on top by 8. Our share of routes over the last couple of years, Frank, and Dan, you're the rookie, but this is as good a game as we've had in some time.
Superb. See the play Dan diagrammed up there?
There it
all down.
Works every time.
First and 10. Denver at the 12-yard line. Rick Massey is in motion. And Elway going to the corner for Clarence Kay, too far.
That time Elway looked to 3 different receivers and came back to Kay finally and was able to get rid of it, but he took a tremendous shot from Ron Rivera coming in on the blitz.
And a blitz that was well picked up. John got the situation he wanted. He had man coverage downfield, but give some credit to Todd Bell and to Jackson, Richardson. Those 3 guys were back there in single coverage, blocked up one-on-one and smothered their guy.
They'll have another chance.
On second and 10. Keep it on the ground. Fighting his way is Lang inside the 10 to about the 8-yard line. And that's going to set up a third and about 5.
problem that I'm sure Dan Reeves is going through right now, is we just had a shot of him looking at his play card, is if you want to run the ball out of the shotgun, you're really limited to only 1 or 2 plays. I mean, when your backs are in front of the quarterback, you really are handicapped as far as how many different variations of a running game you can have.
Tough to get wide. 3rd and 5, Sewell slot left. Jackson splits left, and Elway's going to take another timeout. Ooh. And that could really kill them at the end. They're down by 8, and they're down to 1 timeout. 13-10 to play in the 4th. Could be very significant. Broncos down to 1 timeout, down by 8. Big play here, 3rd and 5 from the 7. On the ground to Sewell, who has to go deep. He's back at the 15, comes back the other way, and gets close to the original line of scrimmage, but it's going to be 4th and 6 now, and that necessitates the presence of Carlos to try to cut the lead to 6 or to 5.
Tough call going laterally down there, 3rd down and 6, particularly with a team like the Bears, the way they can react athletically.
Was a curious call. John Elway, 4 receivers in the set. 27-yard attempt. Kubiak holding for Carlos. And that pulls them to within a touchdown. 5 points.
I guess he figures that there's no way that he can force John to throw every time. The worst thing that can happen is exactly what has happened, kicking the field goal. They had to have the field goal sooner or later.
Yep.
They were down by 2 scores. If they're to take the lead, they had to kick a field goal anyway. So
had to get inside a touchdown.
Right.
Sure would have been nice to do it the next time around, though.
Oh, wouldn't it always be that way?
Good seesaw battle among 2 close friends. Ditka, we touched on it before, and Danny Reeves. They played together 3 years with the Dallas Cowboys under Landry, and then coached for many years. I guess you could say they just know about as much about one another as any 2 coaches in this game. And thus far, Danny Reeves has never been able to beat Mike Ditka.
(29-24), and the difference right now, 5-point advantage, and the difference are the 2 missed extra points. There was one of them. The hook by Butler, and here was the bad snap. Otherwise, it would be a 7-point advantage.
Which has necessitated a change by the Bears. Tom Thayer was doing the snapping on those, and now Jay Hilgenberg is corrected on that. The rookie Addix was in there doing the first time, Thayer the second time, and now Hilgenberg for the 3rd and final time tonight.
Meanwhile, Butler kicks it down to the 7-yard line. Gentry, good run back. And buried in a pile out of bounds at the 35-yard line. So McMahon will lead the Bears out, and again, Jim is on the verge of going over the 300-yard mark for the first time in his career. And again, the Bears have not lost with McMahon as the starting QB.
The kickers was offside. That penalty is declined. It's 1st down.
38 is Bruce Plummer. Last time the Bears lost the game with McMahon as the starting quarterback, mid-October, 84. Same week, the Detroit Tigers were knocking off the San Diego Padres in the World Series. That long ago. Morris in motion. Fake to Payton. And then McMahon throws it out of bounds. Intended for Camposo.
Jim thought he was going to get something happening downfield much more effectively than he did. Hit the ball very well. Was looking for an isolated receiver. Looked downfield. Nothing happening. Just threw it out of bounds.
I know that we have entered the age of specialization, but the Broncos may be doing as much substitution on defense as I've ever seen. They are running 6 players out into this second and long situation. 6 substitutions by Denver to play this passing down against the Bears.
Would not be helter-skelter either, because they have one of the great defensive coaches in the game in Joe Collier. He's directing traffic.
2nd and 10. Morris in motion. Walter Payton, big hole for him. And Payton, on his nicest run of the night, takes it out to the 49 for a first down.
And great call that time by the Bears. They saw those 6 people coming in to play the pass for Denver. Why not go ahead and run the ball? Good look at Morris come in motion. There's Bortz, the right guard, pulling. Anderson with a good lead block on Rulon Jones. And 34. He knows what to do with the ball once he's past the line of scrimmage. Good call that time by the Bears, though.
Anderson doing for Payton what Payton has done so well for Anderson.
1st and 10. McMahon flipping it to Payton. Nice catch, and Walter gets knocked down at the 42-yard line, and a little extra action from Jeremiah Castillo. And I'd agree with Walter.
I think Walter was a little shocked that Castillo just didn't fall over. Walter's taken on some of the big dudes in this league for a lot of years. He did not like the little extra tag that Castillo put on it. You'll see it right here at the end. He did not have a face mask, but he had Payton around the helmet.
Well, Castillo kept his legs driving, and Walter, I think, informing Jeremiah that, sorry, pal, but in my estimation, you haven't earned the right to do that to me.
And Jim McMahon, a milestone now. 20 of 30 for 303. And on 2nd and short, it's Payton cracking down to the 35-yard line.
Oh, and what a good call to have on a straight-ahead dive play against the blitz. You get good zone blocking up front, you get a big opening, and Payton gets good yardage.
Just leave that graphic. Guys, could you bring that thing back up a moment? After the play, we'll look at that graphic again. As we look at Walter, look at the head go down, the shoulder go down. How many times have we seen that? Walter Payton. We threw up numbers there that, I mean, they're mind-boggling.
They'll be in the Hall of Fame.
I know we have guys with names that wrap all the way around their jerseys, but how about records that go all the way off the screen?
And your big screen to say,
yeah, you need a 40-inch job. On 1st and 10, behind Galt, who was covered well on the play. 2nd down. McMahon gesturing to Van Horn. His tackle.
It's not that complicated a game. It's I want you over here.
Payton was 61 yards tonight, by the way. It's his best day of the year, day or night, in fact.
Oh, he's suffered, Al. He hasn't had a 100-yard game in, 11 regular season games. He hasn't been over 50 yards this season.
He had 49 last week against the Packers, and as you can see, 61 thus far tonight.
Well, the key there, look at the average, 6.1 yards a carry. That's getting it done big time.
He came in tonight with a 2.6.
2nd and 10, 9.5 minutes to play in the 4th. Payton. And he takes it down to the 31-yard line where he's corralled by Jim Ryan. And it'll be 3rd down. 3rd down and 6 upcoming.
Take a look at the blocking going on. This is Rulon Jones in his stance. Watch him penetrate. Neil Anderson is going to put him on the ground again. Neil Anderson is making a habit out of hurting Rulon Jones. Boom, right there. And Rulon got up limping a bit. That time the good lead block by Bortz. Neil Anderson making a little surge here with his blocking.
3rd down and 6. Big play here. 8:50 to go in the 4th. And it's intercepted at the 20-yard line. Picked off by K.C. Clark, a rookie from San Jose State. K.C. Clark, a replacement player.
Remember, we saw him when we were here when Denver played the Raiders. He was lined up at corner for Denver in that last replacement game and had a good game that night.
McMahon, from the shotgun, one he would dearly love to have back. Never saw Clark at all. Tried to go to McKinnon coming across, overthrew it under a lot of pressure, and that was the key to it. Denver getting the pressure on the man, forcing him to throw the ball, and K.C. Clark, he of the replacements, the interception.
1st and 10. Broncos at their own 39. 8:43 to play. Elway going deep for Johnson. Too deep by a yard and a half. He's beaten Richardson and Duerson.
Elway pounding on the turf, but he was just upset that he did not get the ball to Johnson, who was there.
How many times have you seen wide receivers get alligator arms when it comes time to go after a ball thrown long? That's the way you go after a football. Vance Johnson, what an effort. Look at Keith Bishop with the block there on Wilbur Marshall. But this is an effort, folks. That's how you go after a ball. Doesn't look like much, but a lot of receivers won't do it.
Second and 10. Out pattern. The Teal makes the catch. Gets spun down at the 47 by Mike Richardson. A first down. He stays in bounds. The clock keeps rolling. 8:24 to play in the 4th.
And again, John Elway takes the hit. Watch him go down. It's almost like a trade-off situation now. John is saying, go ahead, run the blitz. I'm going to stand here until the last minute. Take the shot. As long as I can get my completions, I'll do it.
And he's doing that by checking off receivers too, Dan. That was not the primary receiver. Teal was not the man he wanted to go to. When you check him off, you're going to take more time, and you're going to pay for it.
Bears lead by 5. 1st and 10 from the 47. Fake to Winder. Backside pressure. Elway escapes again. Perry chases him. And he throws incomplete, intended for Winder. But very few quarterbacks avoid that sack.
Gets away first from Dent. And I think an ordinary mortal, Dan, might have gone down.
Well, it's Richard Dent. Look at him at the top of the screen getting around Dave Studdard. And he's got John. He had his hand on his back. Now, the only guy out there is the Fridge, but the Fridge had the angle. No, that's... I don't know that I'd really like to be a defensive lineman playing the Broncos and have to try to corral this guy, John Elway.
Good time to go now with the pass. It's going to take a little longer. There's some deep breathing going on the part of that defensive huddle of the Bears. They're taking some deep breaths. They've been chasing Elway all night. He could perhaps buy a little more time on this pass.
2nd and 10. For Johnson. Nice pass. Gets wrapped up and tackled at the 40-yard line by Mike Richardson. They are about 3 yards short of the first down.
And again, it's the blitz. Ron Rivera. Boy, did he hammer John Elway. John standing in there and taking. Watch Rivera. He delays. Wide open, and John waits to the last minute. This is good coverage, Joe, by Mike Richardson. Good open field tackle. If he doesn't get Johnson to the ground, that's a big play.
That's what they brought him in tonight for that man-for-man coverage. He was a starter tonight. Rivera again. You put that many men in the pattern, you do not have enough orange jerseys to pick up the white.
3rd and 3 with 7 minutes to go, and they get the first down. Lang to the 33-yard line. Lang behind Keith Bishop.
And again, running out of the shotgun and making it work. That's the key. I think Tom Landry, Frank, was the guy who really, I guess we call him the father of running out of the shotgun. Dallas, the first pro team in the modern era to use it. And, of course, here we have 2 protégés of Tom Landry. But Denver tonight, I'm surprised that they're running as effectively as they are against Chicago out of the gun.
1st and 10 at the 33-yard line. Elway right over the middle, down the middle, complete to the 10-yard line to Mark Jackson.
And in the middle of 5 Bears, Elway scrambling out of the pocket again, was still able to pick out Mark Jackson, drilled it in there, and he puts it in between 5 Bears.
The Bears back playing zone, but let's look at it up front. William Perry is going to come the closest, but watch him get cut right there by Keith Bishop. But zone coverage here by Chicago, and Mark Jackson just sits down in that soft spot right in the middle. Good look there at Bestie Jackson, pointing to Jackson and saying, he's open, guys. You got to close it.
First and goal inside the 10. Jackson to the left, Johnson to the right, and Sewell in motion. And Lang with a penalty marker, a face mask violation, 3 flags on the play.
Well, now we'll see whether it's going to be 5 or 15, and Gene Lang is hurt.
I don't think that has to do with the face mask. I think he has injured his left leg.
And the clock is stopped with 5:17.
Let's look what's happening inside. Is
unnecessary roughness, face mask, number 72, half the distance to the goal. First down.
That's William Perry. There he is, beating Dave Sutter's block to the outside. The left arm right on Gene Lang's face mask, and he spins him all the way back around. That's, you know, there's the inadvertent, and there's the blatant. That has to be the blatant variety.
He might have even got his hand caught in there, Dan. Even you would have thought that he would have released it at one point here.
If it was blatant, this is the one area in which it doesn't matter because it's only half the distance anyway, one way or another.
May have gotten a finger in the eye, Gene Lang. And a hefty finger it was, too.
First and goal.
A vegetable tray.
Sewell leaps in, touchdown.
Great blocking out front. Lead block from the back, Lang. Also, Humphreys.
Watch Humphreys, 79 there, Frank. Look at his good block to the inside. That's just effort.
Unfortunately, they take the lead, but they leave a lot of time on the scoreboard. At least, unfortunately, for Denver.
4:58 remaining in the fourth. Carlin with Kubiak putting it down. And the Broncos are now on top by 2.
Again, in slow motion. Humphreys working over on the right side. Good block there. Lang out in front, number 33. Just enough to spring Sewell high over the top into the end zone.
Steve Sewell with the touchdown that puts the Broncos on top by 2, and so the difference in the game are those 2 missed Chicago extra points at the moment. 4:58 to play in the fourth. Bears have all of their timeouts remaining as Carlos's kick is taken at the 6-yard line by Gentry. And Gentry is stopped, even though the play still goes on. And a little scramble ensues, and not much more. Mark Munford makes the tackle. So let's take a look at college football. We've got a big doubleheader coming up for you. Again, Earl Bruce fired today. Rick Bay resigned as the AD at Ohio State, but Bruce will guide the team against Dan Deerdorf. Hail to the victors, valiant, the Warriors glorious, and all of that. Ohio State, Michigan live noon Saturday. And then Giffords team, coached by Larry Smith. 4 field goals against Arizona to take on UCLA. Winner to the Rose Bowl.
So often that matchup has produced the Rose Bowl team.
Hey, Frank, someone here wasn't represented.
Yeah, we're going to the Holiday Bowl, don't worry, or the Freedom or something. One of those. First and 10 from the 24-yard line. Screen over the middle for Payton, and Walter does it himself out to the 33-yard line. Stopped by Dennis Smith, and they tackled him inbounds, and the clock keeps rolling with 4.5.
I love these Bronco fans. What did they say, 400 no-shows here tonight. Snow all over the area. Great snow up in the Rockies for the skiers. They had 1.5 feet in some areas. But Denver fans, the Broncos play the Raiders in L.A. at the Coliseum next Sunday. Well, Raiders in a lot of trouble out there, but the Broncos fans will be here watching the game on Diamond Vision. That's how much they get into it.
2nd and 1. Payton to the 40-yard line. Dennison makes the tackle. If Ditka could write the script for this drive, what he would do is take all the time off the clock and run it down for a Butler field goal.
And he would love to see the man doing most of the work, Walter Payton. Right now, he could care less who does it. You're right, but he has such great respect for Walter Payton. That's the reason Walter Payton, frankly, is in there with Neil Anderson. And a lot of people would like to see Calvin Thomas in there, maybe Matt Suey back in there. More of a blocking type than Walter is.
Payton out on this play on first down from the 40, and it's Anderson wrestled down by Clark after a gain of 2. Clock continues to roll. 3 minutes to play in the fourth period. 31-29 Broncos.
K.C. Clark, he of the interception in the replacement games, this time coming up with the run support and goes for the high tackle on Neil Anderson. And while it's not textbook pretty, it's certainly effective.
And are we looking at another one? The last 3 games against Tampa Bay, they came back to win that one 27-26. They came back to beat Kansas City. They came back last week to beat Green Bay in the final play of the game.
Second down and 8. McMahon dropped back at the 39 by Rulon Jones, who's had a relatively sackless season.
And if Rulon goes back and high-fives anybody, it ought to be the Broncos secondary. McMahon nowhere to go with the football, had no choice but to eat it. He was really under no pressure.
And he has not played well, Rulon Jones, but he drives his man into the middle, and McMahon pulls it down, and he makes a key sack there.
Only his second of the year, and Chicago has to take a timeout, and that is the first sack of the game.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it is, with these two teams.
And a tribute to a couple of pretty heady quarterbacks. One of them athletically scrambling all over the football field. The other one just knowing when to get rid of it.
The timeout situation, the Bears just used their first one, so they've got a couple left. But remember the Broncos, how they had to waste 2 timeouts almost back-to-back down on the Chicago goal line, and they're down to only 1. Whether that will be a factor or not, I don't know. We'll see.
I know they'd love to get the first down on the 3rd down and 11, but you can rest assured that they will go twice if they don't.
Guys, I pose the question. Can the mystique of Jim McMahon, can it grow even more? I mean,
it's set up for it, isn't it?
Tailor-made.
3rd down and 11.
Boy, what it will do for sunglasses.
Ball is at the 39-yard line. They have to get to the 50.
Not to mention tacos and other sort of things.
McKinnon and Morris are split to the right. Galt left. McMahon. Flag. He's sacked. Penalty.
Carl Mecklenburg, what a tremendous effort.
Flag is down, but it's down where you usually get holding.
And McMahon might have hurt his leg.
Holding. Number 62. That penalty is declined. Put down.
Sports. And Jim McMahon is injured. He's limping a bit. I don't know whether or not there's much damage. Let's see how he goes to the sideline. Watch Carl Mecklenburg. He's down here at the end of the line of scrimmage, takes an inside move on Jim Covert, and he just crawls to Jim McMahon, and you can see the twist of the leg when he went down.
With that loss of 10 yards, the Bears can't go on 4th down. They'll have to punt.
4th and 19, and Wagner to kick. End over end. The Teal is back there and lets it bounce, and it will roll dead at about the 13-yard line. And that will take us to the 2-minute warning and then some, with exactly 1:55 to play in the 4th, and McMahon hobbling and Denver on top by a deuce.
Another look at Carl Mecklenburg's effort. Here he is at the bottom of your screen, and let's see where Jim McMahon's ankle is twisted. Now he works to the inside of Jimbo Covert, who's got a bad shoulder to the inside. Going to require surgery after the season. Well, watch Carl crawl. He gets McMahon's left ankle, and there's where it gets twisted when he goes down. And we saw Jim holding it on the sideline. The Bears say that if they get the football back, Jim McMahon will be back in the game.
If they get it back.
A big if.
Mitchell in motion from the 12-yard line. Denver tries to take time off the clock as Sammy Winder takes it out to the 16.
And you saw Winder covering that football. That's what they're saying in the huddle. Let's take care of the football. Think about that first before you try to do anything, make any kind of cuts. And as you can see, the Bears have used one of their remaining timeouts.
And that leaves them now with just one. So what it amounts to is if Denver can get a first down, this one is history. And the Bears, meanwhile, it's been 10 years since they've gone back-to-back games without a sack. Jack Pardee was the coach then.
And I think we'll give equal credit to the Bronco offensive line and to this guy right here, John Elway. I don't know that if the Bears would have had 13 guys on defense tonight, we're rushing 9 every play if they'd have trapped Elway.
It's that time, Dan.
Certainly is. I would love to tell you that this telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League. It's intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or any other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the National Football League is strictly prohibited. And this is some football game tonight.
Second and 7 at the 15-yard line. And Elway slides down to stay inbounds at the 17 and force Chicago to use a timeout if they so choose. And they do. Elway looking toward the sideline. What he saw was no chance to get the first down. None. So he slid down to stay inbounds, keep the clock rolling. And, of course, he is the son of a coach who I'm sure is very proud right now of exactly what he did.
He's done very little wrong tonight. He had the one interception when it appeared as if he just did not see Ron Rivera. But he has been almost flawless other than that.
I think if John Elway would have slid out of bounds that time, stopping the clock, the first thing he might have seen was Dan Reeves landing right on top of it with his hands going for his throat.
Our producer Ken Wolf, director Larry Cam and the gang with the pictures from Denver tonight. Malibu, Kelly Hayes.
A lot of good work by our cameramen. Many of them unable to get into the airport here in Denver last night. Came in today from out on the West Coast.
Our crew scrambling around.
They got a good crew.
Tommy O'Connell and Jack Savoy and Drew DeRosa doing a cross-country odyssey to get into Denver. Mike Ditka. Well, Ditka and his Bears fly home after the game, and all of a sudden they're going to begin to look at the defense of all things after the last 4 weeks. 26, 28, 24, and now 31 points against Chicago. And Winder gets wrapped up by Al Harris at the 14-yard line, and so Chicago will get the ball back. They cannot stop the clock. A minute and a half remaining. You talk about McMahon set up for that magical mystery tour again.
Here it is. Right here, Denver will let the time run down. They won't snap this football until the last minute. There's still 14 seconds left on the 30-second clock, so they'll try to snap this ball at 2 or 3 seconds.
And they'll be under a minute to play when they do snap it. The clock is now down to 4, 3, 2, 1. And they will take the penalty here.
Ooh, I don't know.
I don't know that you do that either, because
taking every possible second they can, but they have a dangerous dangerous return man back there in Dennis McKinnon, something we have not touched on. He's run 2 punts back for touchdowns this year, and I'll question that thinking right there.
File this away right now. If Kevin Butler makes a field goal and it crosses the crossbar by 5 yards or less, remember this penalty.
I don't understand that at all, and it really appeared that they had no intention to kick the football. Now, the big thing now for Denver is when they do kick the ball, they want to kick it to the center of the field. They don't want to angle it for the sidelines.
keep it in play, burn off more time.
And again, the Bears do not have a timeout when they get the football. Picked, fielded, and dropped at the 43. Picked back up by McKinnon. And down in a sea of orange at the 45-yard line. 48-yard boot, 3-yard run back. And so McMahon and the Bears at their own 45 with 45 seconds left on the clock, and Jim limping out to the huddle.
And we're not talking about mystique now. If we can pull this off, we're talking about legend. Well, we're not talking in reality, guys, about having to go that far. I mean, look where they have the football. You can kick it much further out here. Kevin Butler, who can probably reach it 55 yards, maybe 56 or 7. We might even tack maybe 1 or 2 more on that because of the altitude here.
Now, if you're a Denver Bronco, when you get on top of a ball carrier or a receiver who's caught the ball, you don't get off of him. That burns up more time. You're going to see a lot of holding.
They're only about 25 yards away from getting it in legitimate field goal range as McMahon throws over the middle and it's dropped by Morris. Ron Morris dropped it. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
And McMahon was dropped again. This time, Rulon Jones closing down on McMahon and really belting him. And McMahon is limping more noticeably now.
Very difficult to question the toughness of Jim McMahon. I mean, it's obvious. Look at him bending over in pain in the huddle. This is a stellar performance by this guy. Any wonder why the Chicago Bears in that offensive huddle revere Jim McMahon? You're seeing why right now.
Morris and McKinnon go wide to the right. Gould comes wide to the left. And McMahon under pressure gets sacked at the 37-yard line. Andre Townsend, not picked up, came flying in unmolested.
And they'll start the clock.
And Tomczak is coming into the game. Mike Tomczak comes off the bench. And McMahon is forced to leave.
And there's no way that Jim McMahon can continue to play. He's a sitting duck back in the pocket. If he's healthy, he might have gotten away from Andre Townsend, who really just penetrated from a defensive tackle position, but no chance but to go to the ground. A game effort, but I mean, there's just no way he could do it.
3rd down and 18, and Nicole Tomczak, who's only been in the snap as the play is whistled dead before the snap. Red Cashin.
Almost an anticlimactic wind down to what has been an absolutely thrilling football game. Here is the last play. McMahon, the time before last, as Rulon Jones pounds McMahon to the surface. On the last play, he just could not move out of the way of Andre Townsend. He just couldn't do it.
So here are the
Benditka sucked him out of there.
Here are the Bears now without McMahon, without Payton. Waller out of the lineup at the moment.
There's Townsend. McMahon knew he had no chance to move out of the way.
3rd down and 18. Tomczak sends 4 receivers into the pattern, swings it out to Anderson. He's got to look for the sideline, and he goes out of bounds at the 38 with 13 seconds. So now they are forced into a 4th down situation. Not only do they need a 1st down, they've got to get out of bounds as well. So you're forced to really throw something either on the side or just go for it all.
Yeah, it really restricts the middle of the field. There's no way you can make a play because you cannot get to the football and get off another play, even if you pick up the 4th down, which is 16 yards away.
Tomczak, he's going to swing it to Anderson, and Anderson doesn't pick up the 1st down, and the Denver Broncos have wrapped it up.
Mike Tomczak didn't know it was 4th and 16. He's trying to get the team together to run another play.
He came off the bench with the 3rd down play, unaware of the game situation.
He didn't know it was 4th down and 16.
They're yard markers for that.
You would think somebody in the huddle would have said, hey, what kind of a call is that?
No wonder he only dumped off the ball. He didn't know that he had to get 16 yards to get a 1st down.
Clock stops with the change of possession. But this one is history, and Tomczak, who was rushed into action apparently did not know that it was 4th down.
And so the Broncos run one play, and that will do it. And Denver will keep their wild card hopes alive and their very slim AFC West hopes alive. So the one thing about the Broncos, they still have 2 games with San Diego, who they trail by 2.5.
Danny Reeves looking unsure for Mike Ditka.
Well, the Denver Broncos looking and getting what they desperately needed. Life. They are still alive.
They bounced back from that loss to Buffalo, an embarrassing loss of a week ago, and they bounced back in great fashion.
So that's the story. Al Michaels, along with Frank Gifford and Dan Dierdorf, saying good night from Denver, where the Broncos beat the Bears in a wild one, 31-29. The difference in the game, the 2 missed extra points. This ABC Sports exclusive has been brought to you by Nissan Cars and Trucks, built for the most important race of all, the human race. By Michelob Light. When the sun goes down, light up the night with Michelob Light. By the U.S. Army, learn how to get an edge on life. Be all you can be. And by Kellogg's Nutri-Grain cereal. This Saturday, ABC's college football continues with doubleheader action. First, Ohio State takes on Michigan. Then, 5th-ranked UCLA takes on USC for a Rose Bowl bid. And ABC's Monday Night Football continues next week. The Los Angeles Rams against the Washington Redskins. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television. See you next Monday.